The College Football Experience 2023 Season Preview, Week 7 Preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by Shady Rays. Yes, SGPN is teaming up with Shady Rays for Shady May. Get 50% off your Shady Rays using the promo code SGPN, and then go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500 of cold hard cash. And after that, remember to, as always, let it ride. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. And then once again, as always, remember to let it ride.
This is Jim Mora, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the College Football Experience 2023 Season Preview for Week 7. Oh boy, if you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swigga, Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
I mean, I'm still in South America. This is the final week I'm going to be in South America talking college football. Glad to bring the game down here. And on behalf of college football, and spread the word. The news has just been crazy within the sport. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to draft. Remember, this is Week 7. We have all 6 weeks out there, including Week 0, so 7 weeks. Go listen to each and every week. We talk about each and every game, or at least our top 30, which we will draft in a little bit here. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Ho!
There we go. Let's talk a little ball. I was shocked to see your boys in the headlines a little bit, Patty C. We'll talk about it in a minute. We are also joined by third man in the booth, the DFS god himself. When the college football season hits, remember, we'll be playing college football DFS nonstop, and he's a killer. He's a shark. All right, give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving. Farmer, heard the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's up, guys?
Oh man, I mean, we got a lot. We got a lot to talk about. I just want to jump right into the news because then we'll get to Week 7. I mean, I'm just every time I feel like I open up social media, I see something that is somewhat substantial, I feel like, when it comes to college football and perhaps realignment. First, you have, well, let's start off with this one. EA Sports and one team have partnered to handle NIL for the new EA Sports college football game, which is returning next season. Guys, are you happy to see the college football returning now? Players will have the option to sign on with it or not. So we might get a little Tecmo Super Bowl QB Eagles going on if someone says, hey, fuck you. What do you make of that, Patty C?
I mean, amazing. I think we've always wanted that for pretty much forever. And this is the first time ever we're going to have actual players in the game, college football. I mean, I guess the old college football has had everything except the name attached to it. But it's a big step. And obviously, I am curious how the NIL portion of that will work out. Have they mentioned that? Is it going to be equally distributed among the players, or?
They have not mentioned that, but obviously I know that will play a big role because that's how essentially we got in this spot because of Ed O'Bannon. Nick, NCAA football, you be buying this thing? Get your daughters to be playing a little dynasty mode?
I'm not going to lie. I haven't played a lot of video games lately, but those games back in the day were awesome. And if memory serves me correctly, couldn't you edit the name? So we would take our Athlons or our Lindsays or our Phil Steele magazine, find the number associated with that guy, and then just change his name in the game. So therefore the names were in there, Well, so this makes it a lot easier. Once again, the youth of today just has it made.
True. And look, dude, even if they elect to not do it, let's say one team just says, no, we're not interested. The internet, it's like when we did DGen Madness a couple years ago during COVID, when we got robbed of our Final Four, of our March Madness. The internet had an NBA game with a hack, with a jailbreak for NCAA basketball courts. Someone went and designed all of them, the rosters, and we just inputted them. So I'm sure the internet will figure this thing out. As they say, it is undefeated. Shout out to Disbanded Brotherhood. Says you can definitely edit the name. Let's go. What's that?
The Dant household was probably one of the few in America that back in 2000 or whenever, 98 maybe, had a full college roster of every team, every player in the nation. But I will say that is how the database and company were born. Hours.
Yeah, manually 6 a.m. going to sleep, just putting in every fucking guy. Look, I'm sure I'm gonna, if there's a thing called heaven, I might, get there and say, damn, I really wasted that much time entering fucking, Louisiana Monroe's third-string quarterback. What was I doing? But
you find out that was heaven. You were actually in heaven.
That's right.
You had to put Roosevelt Potts in there at running back for La Monroe.
That's right, baby. Shout out to Roosevelt Potts. Look, before we get to the other news I want to talk about, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, SGPN is excited to announce an exclusive early access partnership with Edge Boost, the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Yes. So similar to buy now, pay later programs like Affirm and Afterpay, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest and pay back the advance over 4 equal weekly installments. That's right, folks. That means 0% interest. Simply deposit your funds into your account, and Edge Boost will match the deposit so you can use 2 times the amount of funds on any legal sports betting site. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in advances as you build a repayment history, essentially. So my Edge Boost double down play of the day is, I think I'm going to go USFL action. And you should go with the Pittsburgh Maulers -2.5 this weekend because that defense is nasty. Forced 5 turnovers last week. He's getting after it. And Troy Williams coming into his own for the Maulers. So check out the USFL Gambling Podcast, and that will be a lock that I give you there. And also with the special offer, the first 500 SGPN users will start at a $1,000 advance limit. Yes. The next 2,500 users will start at a $500 limit. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up today. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. Only valid in legal gambling states. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. We are back on the college football experience. And guys, I almost don't even know where to begin. Okay, so the ACC, let's start there. The ACC has 7 schools. They're calling them the Magnificent Seven, that essentially are either they're examining the ACC's contract to see if they can bounce out. They also, from what I've heard reports, that if they can get an 8th, which may be Notre Dame, maybe Louisville, maybe Pitt, I don't know, they could actually leave the ACC, but they wouldn't have another TV contract. So they couldn't – theoretically, you could form your own conference, but it would be a little late So I don't think that's an option. I think the more likely option is that they either join the Big 12, SEC, or Big 10. Now, why this is all really hard to really follow is because also at the same time, and I saw Michael Alford make a statement about this, that they just met Sunday and Monday in Florida, and a weighted revenue distribution model is gaining support among ACC schools, where if your football team or your NCAA tournament team wins, instead of sharing it with the whole 15 teams or 14 teams, you would then just pocket that money yourselves, or a little bit would go to the ACC and most of it would go to you. I think I read $10 million for a football win in the playoffs or something like that. But
now, is that different? Sorry to cut you off. Is that different than some other conferences, how they used to have their weighted distribution? Because I think that weighted distribution, it was just the bigger schools got more of the pie regardless.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you're the team that goes further and earns that money, I don't mind you keeping more of it. I think that's what's more American than that.
Well, no, that's not bad, because that forces everyone to really focus on football and basketball, your revenue sports, and say, hey,
right. You don't have the Pittsburgh Pirates, of Major League Baseball, just cashing other people's paychecks.
But at the same time, I also have read reports that Brett Yormark, who I know Ross Dillinger for SportsIllustrated.com. He just published an article about he was at some college football meetings in Arizona, or the Big 12's college football meetings in Arizona. And Brett Yormark, obviously everyone knows Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State have been options that Brett Yormark has said he wanted, right? But if they remain committed to the Pac-12, and there's speculation here that he would be interested in all of those ACC teams that would be leaving, right? And not only that, he also had UConn as a team. Oh, well, first off, he had San Diego State and UNLV in the Mountain West as teams that he would be interested in. Even Fresno State was on that board. And then UConn, football and basketball, which he continues to say he wants to get a footprint in the Northeast where he can market. He's from New York City, where he worked with Rock Nation with Jay-Z, and where he can market the Big 12's basketball and football, which obviously basketball, if you can schedule games in Madison Square Garden. Football, I don't know how he's planning to do that, but I can tell you getting UConn might be part of that blueprint. What's hilarious to me, well, first, what's your guys' thoughts on all of that? Because I have more conference realignment news in a minute here, but what do you make of that? I was shocked that, by the way, the 7 ACC schools were Florida State, Miami, Clemson, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, and UVA. UVA taking football serious? Is this happening, Patty C? What do you make of the ACC, and this potential? I mean, it sounds like this could blow up any second. It sounds like also, maybe they will. I don't know why, if you're Boston College, you would agree to a revenue distribution model. That's not going to benefit you more or less. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think if you have to, you would agree to it. I don't think Boston College is probably the one that's out there searching for that. If you're the little fish in the pond, but you're getting the same food portion as the big fish, then you want to keep things status quo. But I think if it means getting no food versus getting a little less food, that's why a team like Boston College would agree to that. UVA, I'm not surprised. I don't think it's them taking football seriously. It's probably them taking money seriously, and having the cachet in a number of areas that allows them to be part of that crew that could leave. And Virginia will probably get picked up by either the SEC or the Big Ten. Just because.
That's another thing that came out in Dillinger's article, was that Kevin Warren, before he left just past April, had basically evaluated Oregon and Washington joining the Big Ten, and their value and how much more money they could get from. And the TV execs were not interested unless essentially Kevin Warren, for it to make sense, wanted $200 million. and TV execs were not interested in adding Oregon and Washington. Also, USC apparently said to Kevin Warren that they are not interested in, they do not want the Big Ten to expand to the West Coast. So interesting. Besides USC and UCLA, they want that, and who knows how much power that is. But my point with that assessment, this could all change. Obviously, they have a brand new commissioner, but if Oregon and Washington don't add much value and the slice of the pie gets smaller for every other school, then I don't know that they would be jumping. The only one that I think could be jumping would be the Big 12, because he's made it known he's looking to add a lot of teams.
That could be jumping from the Big 12 to the Big 10, or
no, the ACC teams going to the Big, because if the SEC and the Big 10 are set on their basically saying, if we add Virginia and North Carolina, yes, we get into Virginia and North Carolina, but we don't, our piece of the pie is smaller because TV execs don't value those schools as big, money makers.
Yeah. So what is the question then? What do you think?
I'll jump in here for a second, Patty. So my stance on all this realignment, all these unnamed sources, and I know it's currently mid-May, so a lot of people are scrambling for stuff to talk about. Yes, all of this stuff may be happening behind the scenes, but there are 1,000 scenarios that we could throw out and talk about for 5 hours. The fact is, we don't really know. Nobody knows. And these people on Twitter that you've sent me some of the stuff, Colby, the one guy especially, I forget his name, but if all these people with sources, if all that stuff came true, the ACC currently wouldn't exist. Neither would the Big 12, neither would the Pac-12. I mean, there's been so much bullshit thrown out there for the last year or two. I'm hesitant to believe anything.
Well, I can tell you this. 16 minutes ago, Pat Forty reported that all those ACC teams met, and those 7 are
that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
If anybody didn't think, they should be doing that. Every school has to look out for themselves, of course. But that doesn't mean there's the Big 12 already has an agreement reached with Louisville. People are just going for anything right now, and I just think you kind of have to sit back and see how the dust settles. I don't know.
True, but the last 3 Junes we've had, I believe we had huge fucking news in either June or first week of July. Oklahoma, or 12-team playoff. Then you had Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, and then last year USC and UCLA joining.
Not to mention for CUS or American teams joining the Big 12. Not quite as earth-shattering news, but it's still
big news, though. Still big news.
Well, and I mean that's their concern. I think is this: UCF is going to be making more money than Florida State and Miami starting this year. So that's pretty amazing right there. Other news I wanted to get to was San Diego State's athletic director was saying that he kind of is saying but not saying that they're in the Pac-12, and their rate to leave the Mountain West triples by July 1st. So it kind of gives us a deadline on when we will see San Diego State to the Pac-12. But I'm hearing, even though the Big 12 could, obviously wanted San Diego State as well, I'm hearing San Diego State and the Pac-12 want each other, and that we will see that before July 1st from some of the statements.
What's the delay? Let's give us.
I believe
triples on July 1st. It gets.
I saw that as well. Yeah.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised. Usually, the longer you wait, the less you have to pay to get out. But in this situation, it's tripling the price to get out. Wow. Yeah, they better move.
Well, no, but apparently they're waiting on the TV deal, and I was listening to Washington State school president talk about this. That their deal, first off, he said, we have a deal that's pretty much it's ready to go. The problem is ESPN and Silicon Valley have had a bunch of layoffs. So they told us this deal is good to go. We just got to buy some time because we don't want to be laying off all those people and then throwing hey, here's $200 million for the Pac-12 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's just bullshit or not, but that would certainly explain it. And you got to wonder if they add San Diego State, you would think they would be adding another team just to have an even number. So that is something to watch out for. I wanted to touch base on one more thing. UConn. It's funny, Pat Forty. I've met Pat Forty before, and I think he's a good journalist. But at the same time, like, he was adamant that UConn should not join the Big 12. I completely disagree with him. If the Big 12 came calling, they would make like 8 times the amount of money, maybe even more, that they would actually be making in the Big East currently, and their football team would now have a contract in a major network with getting on TV all the time. They're independent right now, and that's a hard grind. I was shocked to see that he said that. Nick, what do you make of UConn potentially? Yormark wants to get to New York City. UConn, probably them or Rutgers, you could argue, the closest college football team in New York City. And then obviously the college basketball brand would be on brand with the Big 12, the best conference of late in college basketball.
No Final Four teams, but look, as a huge college basketball fan, I love UConn in the Big East. That's really where they belong. But take that out of the picture, and UConn's their little flirt with the American Athletic Conference didn't really work out. But if you have an opportunity to join one of the major conferences, I think you have to take it. Like, if you're a UConn fan, if you're part of the university or part of the academic programs, you have to jump at that. I think, the money disparity is so big. I think you'd be foolish.
I was fascinated. He's like, I hope they learn by their first mistake. I'm like, their first mistake wasn't offering $35 million a year or whatever the number is.
Right.
Where they could throw all that into their football program.
It was joining the AAC.
Joining the Big East or joining the American, was it? Or no, they went. How'd that work out? Because they were Big East. So what was their first mistake then?
American.
Yeah, American is what he said.
Okay.
But, American, just their revenue was not the same as the Big 12. And if you can get into part of this, it makes no fucking sense. I think that's a pretty interesting storyline, though, moving forward.
Well, that they didn't really have an option. It's not like they left the Big East for the American, right? The Big East folded, and the American formed. They needed a football conference. They had to join. They
needed a conference in general because we didn't know that the Big East was going to do this right away in basketball. For a second, the Big East had, I don't know if you guys remember this, they had TCU and Boise State and San Diego State, and then they decided to scrap that. They never even played a game. But for a second, that was, going to be the Big East for a few months. UConn to the Big 12, Patty C. What would you think of that?
Well, I think if you look at what happened when I don't know how long, I don't remember. I don't think they were Big East before. What were they? CUSA before the Big East in football? Because they weren't a Big East football team.
Yeah, I think they might have been CUSA or maybe just maybe FCS.
They were in the Big East also.
No, I know that they were in the Big East, but I'm saying like before the Big East.
I got you.
No, what I'm saying is for football, I don't remember them as a Big East team back.
Oh, no, they were a Big East.
Oh, yeah.
And they just came up. Okay. Well, in that situation, I guess being in the Big East ended up paying off. So maybe that was just them building their program. But I would think joining the Big 12 would give them, probably the biggest platform of any team, north of Rutgers in college football, northeast of Rutgers, I should say. So, Boston College, they immediately have more cachet than Boston College just by being in that conference, assuming Boston College doesn't, join the Big Ten. And then Syracuse kind of gets left out in the cold. If you want to come up as a football program, I think it's a great move. And then, it's a lateral move in the college basketball ranks, and it takes them away from where like Nick said, they belong in the Big East. But if you're playing just as good a basketball conference and your football program skyrockets because of it, then it's an obvious move.
Well, and Yormark, if he's able to get, if Syracuse needs a home and the Big 12 then can get Syracuse or Pitt or Louisville.
Wouldn't they be making the same mistake the ACC did? Bring in a bunch of schools that weren't very good at football and don't bring in a bunch of money?
I don't know that I'd be interested in Boston College, but I think Pitt and Louisville actually have value.
Pitt and Louisville, okay. Syracuse.
Well, Syracuse is because the college basketball brand, and he wants New York City. That's a ton of Syracuse fans, right?
Well, the ACC is in the predicament they are in because they overvalued basketball, equal to football.
True.
You know, so I think the Big 12, they you better learn from history, and be careful of who you choose. Just adding on teams isn't always a good thing. You have to add the right teams.
Yeah.
Now, you say that because ACC overvalued basketball. I mean, the ACC was the ACC from the 50s. They started adding football teams like Clemson, Florida State. But then afterward, who'd they add up north?
Boston College, Syracuse,
Virginia Tech. Yeah.
Most of those are, I would say those are as much football schools as they are basketball schools.
No, the ACC overvalued academics and they overvalued basketball.
Well, they're just better at basketball. But, yeah, maybe it's because they overvalue it. Maybe because they don't invest in football. That's it.
My point that I was going to make, though, is that if they get Louisville and Pitt and, let's say, Syracuse along with UConn, they already have West Virginia and Cincinnati who are old Big East teams, right?
How many teams would that be, like 20 or something?
Yeah, but I think that's the future, buddy. I think we got to get content with that. But
maybe the Big 12 will be the first to move to a gigantic number like that. Who knows? All these scenarios are endless, the possibilities. We could have our own separate podcast just on that.
Yeah. What's hilarious is he could actually have the Big East as a division in the Big 12. This is the Big East division with Louisville, Pitt.
So stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
What would be the other division?
The Big West?
The Southwest Conference?
Yeah,
I think the Big West is already trademarked, buddy.
Yeah.
The Big Eight.
Mr. FCS football guy.
Yeah, buddy. All right, look, I'm curious what you guys make. So we got the Magnificent Seven in the ACC. They say they're all going to stay together,
Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty will stay together through thick or thin.
I don't believe that, and I'm curious. Do you guys think by the time the season kicks off, I know we're going to get the ACC for this year, but will we have, do you think, an announcement from those 7 schools or perhaps an 8th that they're going to leave the ACC? Nick?
My guess is no. Yeah, look, I'm the biggest ACC fan on this podcast. Maybe I'm just want to keep my head in the sand and pretend nothing's happening. But my guess is no. Eventually, at some point, some things are going to shake up. But I think right now it's probably all just rumors. So I'm going to say by the time the season starts, no announcement.
Patty C?
I would think not. I think they would probably agree to the unequal revenue distribution before that, and they'd probably let that play out a few years, unless ESPN or Fox is just ready to pony up and take, all of them and offer all 8, a guaranteed spot. Then it could happen. But short of that, I don't think anyone's taking any chances, of getting.
What's your answer to your question, Colby?
I think something will be announced. I think when San Diego State leaves, that's another part that I didn't even touch on, is that that from that report that the Mountain West, if they lose San Diego State and UNLV, because there's talk that Yormark wants into Las Vegas too. So I don't know, but I do expect something big to happen because we're going to this 12-team playoff next year, and I think they want to have a clean slate going into that, knowing who's in what conference. So I expect San Diego State to be announced to the Pac-12 by July 1st with another team. Now, I kind of think it's SMU, but if it's not, then I would imagine it's UNLV or Boise. But I think that's definitely going to happen. And then when that happens, I think that is going to force the Mountain West to add teams. And other things you're just going to see shifting going on throughout the sport. But they were talking about the Mountain West, though, talking about yes, they've had talks with the FCS, but also UTSA would be their target as who they would want to get into the Mountain West. UTSA
is the Mountain West that much better than the American?
That's a good question, especially, well, if you lose UNLV, I would say that's a big upgrade to get UTSA. If you lose San Diego State and UNLV and you add UTSA football, and I don't know who your other school would be. They, maybe it's North Texas. I'm not sure. But you could make the case they got stronger. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, if that happens, but I think maybe UTA is who they want. Maybe, but it's always possible UTA doesn't want them. Takes 2 to tango, I think, is what they say.
But my point is, I do expect at least an announcement because I from
the ACC schools.
I think so, because I also think a revenue distribution model, I don't think that actually works. I think that kind of poisons your conference. So I think they'll look at Texas and Oklahoma and what they did to the Big 12, and I don't think they'll all agree to that. They need all of them to agree to that, and I don't know that they will. So it's going to be very interesting. Some other news quickly before we get to our draft. TJ Finley, former Auburn / LSU quarterback, he lands at Texas State. NC Nick, TJ Finley, Texas State. You buying it?
This guy was once, if I'm not mistaken, a 5-star recruit. Patty C, our recruiting coordinator, is that accurate?
I'll have the 24/7 that real quick.
I think it might have been a 4-star.
4-star. Okay, either way, it's a good get for Texas State. He's never really panned out, at the top level of college football. Go down a level, he brings a lot of athleticism. He could fit well there nicely.
3-star.
3-star. Who am I thinking of?
Oh gosh,
you're thinking of Jamarcus Russell.
Of course.
I don't know. But
6'6", 250. He sounds like he should be a 5-star.
Sounds like he should be a linebacker.
Yeah.
Other news: Michigan State wide receiver Keon Coleman, who was their starting wideout that hit the portal 2 weeks ago, he landed at Florida State. Patty C's Seminoles keep loading up talent. Also, Colorado landed AAC Freshman of the Year from Houston, Alton McCaskill, who had 18 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards a season ago. What? Any of those stand out to you?
Hold on. Who landed him?
Colorado.
Oh, nice get. He's solid, man. He's good.
Yeah. Should be interesting to see. Let's get to the draft, folks.
Prime time, get the number 80 prospect in the nation recruiting wise. I don't know if that's particularly noteworthy, but it's certainly making the news. Anything prime time?
I can tell you this also: when you have one of the top corners in this next class, canceled his Ohio State visit to go to a Colorado visit.
Woo.
That is, and who knows if he signs there or not. But I'm just saying, when you cancel Ohio State to go to Colorado, it's where we're back to the mid-90s.
Our guy D. Bettis doesn't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
The no-fly zone up there. Air Force, they don't have much room to practice because that's the no-fly zone.
Yes. Shout out to Neil Barterson, who says, I flew from Denver to Amsterdam. How's the weed, brother? Binge week 1 to 6 pods. Don't know if there's a hashtag, but y'all sound way different. Not on 1.2x speed or whatever the fuck, however you pronounce that. Yeah, that's true. I definitely sound way more retarded. Can I say that word still? Anyway,
our other guys
probably sound more intelligent.
Yeah,
Caden Owen said the same thing as I did last week. He asked, "Is Pick Dundee streaming from jail?"
Yes. South America, got caught up. Don't worry.
Are you perhaps inside of a very large chimney?
I can tell you the U.S. Embassy's got a decent football squad. Right? So anyway, look, I want to get to our draft. All right, but before we get to our draft, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Shady Rays and Shady May. Yeah, Shady Rays is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. Not only do you get an amazing 50% off, but you also have a chance to win $500 of cold hard cash. Shady Rays are fantastic. They have the best deal. If you lose or break your pair of sunglasses, even on day one, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. All right. It's just, honestly, they have your back long after your purchase. And right now, for our international listeners, Shady Rays has you covered as well with shipping to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. Go to ShadyRays.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 50% off of 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Then take that receipt over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Shady for your chance to win $500 cold hard cash in our Shady May contest. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. I believe NC Nick is on the clock for our Week 7 draft. And what do you make of the week, first off, Nick?
I think it's a solid week. The thing I love most, there is, count them, 9 weekday games. One of my names is Weekday Nick. And man, it is loaded from Tuesday to Friday, multiple games each day. It's a wonderful thing. Like Colby mentions, this is the wave of the future. We're going to see this more and more. Why put your game on a Saturday where you're going to get no viewers? You could triple, quadruple the amount of viewers you get, if not more than that, on a weekday. So I love that fact. The Saturday slate is solid. There's some depth, a couple big games up top, but I'd say it's a solid week. Not great, not awful.
I agree, and I think this is a pretty strong week. I think you're gonna have this isn't when I look at this, I see upsets. I see great games. I'm curious where you taking us, or Patty C, what you make of this week?
Well, at first glance, I've trained my eyes to kind of look past the weekday games because the slate usually doesn't have that much meat on it. And the Saturday slate has a decent, lineup, but nothing spectacular. But upon further review, when I do look at the weekday games, there are several very watchable weekday games that, I will definitely be paying attention to. So as far as a week of watching football goes, pretty solid.
You got a lot of drama in this week. I'm going to make the case on a lot of these matchups once we get into it. But, NC Nick, where are you taking us?
All right, I'm going to go on the side of history here. I'm going to say USC at Notre Dame. Been playing since 1926. Not only is it a great historic rivalry, but also these two teams combined for 20 wins last year. So it's historic, yet very relevant this year. Give me USC at Notre Dame.
Hartman for Heisman. It's a big opportunity for him. USC at Notre Dame. This is one of those rivalries, though. It's funny, as people often say, Colby, you're a traditionalist. You love this, you love college football rivalries. This one never really moved the needle for me, but I do think it's a great matchup. I think I'm high on USC, but I'm not that high on Notre Dame this year. But a trip to South Bend, it could be cold here. Could be interesting. Patty C, what do you make of USC at Notre Dame?
Well, neither teams have exactly ball-busting schedules leading up to this. I mean, Notre Dame has one game that they'll probably be dogs in, which is hosting Ohio State. But the fact that that's at home, maybe they have a chance in it. Going to NC State, Duke, Louisville, there's probably a loss in there too, potentially. But should they come out of that stretch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-1, they'll be certainly top 15 probably. And then USC almost certainly will be undefeated going into this game. So, yeah, this game has, in the second half of the season, massive playoff potential. The last time I think we had a one-loss Notre Dame versus an undefeated USC team, or the last one that stands out in my memory, was the Bush-Push game. South Bend in October. It's an amazing environment. It's one of the best environments. I know the game doesn't have, obviously, the cross-sectional or whatever they call it, non-regional feel to it, but these are two glamour programs. Hate it if you want, Colby, but it is kind of fun.
Notre Dame's not going to be 6-1 going into this game.
I was about to say, I got them at like 3-3. Got them at 4-3.
Best case scenario, 5-2. They have 3 road trips at ACC schools, at NC State, at Duke, at Louisville. They're going to drop at least one of those, I think, and then probably also lose to the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
I agree.
Most likely.
I agree. But, yeah, I mean, look, the Golden Dome is great. I do appreciate that stadium. I've been down there to the Linebacker Inn. I've been to Legends Sports Bar, and it's fun. But I wish it was I wish it was in, like, November, to tell you the truth. October 14th, still going to be warm. Come on.
Well, that's exactly why they do this. USC doesn't want
the Big Ten. They should get used to this. Put this in November.
They should be used to it by now. Yeah, that we don't want to play in cold weather. Shit's not going to fly anymore. But I'll say this: there was a time when Notre Dame was fading and USC was peaking, and I thought that Notre Dame would never be able to compete with USC again. USC was looking like Alabama or Georgia at this point. In terms of just like an unending cycle of excellent recruiting, and Notre Dame had bottomed out. I'm glad this rivalry has turned competitive again.
Was that the Charlie Weiss years?
Yeah. Those were even before the Charlie Weiss years, but like when Brady Quinn was like a freshman, it was like, good God, they're terrible. But Yeah, I wonder who will be favored. Obviously, you have to think USC, but either way, the spread shouldn't be that big for this game, right?
I don't think so. Probably be like, I don't know. Notre Dame gets that Duke love in like in basketball, or the Cowboys, where they'll I imagine like USC -4.
That's it.
Probably.
I don't know.
USC
Look, I mean, it's so hard to predict a line for week 7, so I don't know.
I mean, the final score last year was what? I got to get this pulled up.
It was 30,
USC won,
I have it right here.
38-27 at home, so an 11-point win at home. Notre Dame's got a better quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Year
you're right.
2 with Marcus Freeman. So
Maybe you're right.
yeah.
It'll be a good game.
It is. Patty C, you're on the clock.
Look, I am taking us out west. West Coast Patty C in the house for another border battle, and one of the best border battles in college football. We got Oregon traveling to Washington, okay, and what could be for a ticket punch to the Pac-12 championship game. I'm seeing Washington in some preseason prognostications in the top 5. I think that's a little high. Oregon certainly did pretty well in year 1 with Dan Lanning. They're going to be good again.
But they lost to Washington in Eugene.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see if Bo Nix in year 2 in Eugene is come along a little bit. But either way, excellent quarterback battle. And I don't know. There's something about these two teams that's just – I can't describe it. I have a hard time describing it, but there's something fun about it.
Well, they've been playing for 124 years. You got to love this matchup. And, Washington leads this all-time series 61-48. But they also have 5 ties. And Washington, obviously, this game was hilarious last year. Do you guys remember this game where Oregon went for it on 4th and like 3 from their own 30-yard line, and Washington stopped them and then just kicked the game-winning field goal? 34-34. And Oregon goes with the backup quarterback because like that possession prior, Bo Nix had gotten knocked out. They had Ty Thompson in, and they go for it at their own 30. One of the craziest play calls I've ever seen in my life, in my opinion. And they get stopped by Washington's defense, and then Washington kicks the game-winning field goal. Because there was only I feel like there was only 30 seconds left in the game. It's like, what are you doing? Just punt and go to overtime. I don't know. Nick, what do you make of this game?
It's a great game. I had this at number 2 also. And, last year, so Oregon had won 3 in a row before last year. And last year was the battle of first-year head coaches with DeBoer getting the better of Lanning. So maybe, a little budding, new coach rivalry going on there. I mean, it's a great game. It has history. It has 2, top teams this year also. And what is there not to like?
Yeah, you got to love it. And obviously the Big Ten, if they can somehow get that money, maybe 2 new teams in the Big Ten down the road. Who knows? But they would have to. What's that?
DeBoer and Lanning. I guess Lanning with his SEC ties might be, the type of dude that would leave for an SEC school. But Oregon is kind of a destination school, and so is Washington. And they're both pretty young coaches, so you're right. This may be the beginning of a 10, 15, 20, dare I say, year rivalry. That might be asking a little much, but who knows if they have success.
I think that's the obvious top 2 games. Do you guys all agree? And then the question is, where does Colby go from here? Because I think he can go in a number of directions.
Well, I can tell you where I'm going to go. There would be one that I play because I love the rivalry, but I just don't think that team's going to be very good this year. So I'm going to ignore that one. And I'm going to stay in the Pacific Northwest because UCLA is heading into Corvallis, where I see a loss. And I think it's a huge game for the Beavs. What they get UCLA, they get Utah in Corvallis. DJU is, I think he's going to get the starting job. I know they had that big recruit come in, but obviously UCLA, Oregon State, 2 teams that won a lot of games last year. So Patty C, NC Nick, what do you make of UCLA, Oregon State?
First off, Patty C, bad timing showing the dog. You show Colby's dog the previous game when the Huskies are playing. Okay,
that's true. But Oregon State might be the dog here, and we're rooting for them.
Well, they might not be the dog.
Right.
They might be favored here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game. This this is a game where, look, let's face it, UCLA is kind of a soft program. I don't think they want to go into Corvallis and want any part of the Beavers here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but Chip Kelly does run the ball a lot.
True.
He does run the ball a lot. So
I still think of them as, nice weather and sunny field and fancy uniforms. They don't want it part of Corvallis, right?
Yeah, with the chainsaw, the turnover chainsaw. And believe it or not, Oregon State did win the last matchup they played. I think this is I just think, I wanted to play Auburn LSU, but I just don't think Auburn's going to be any good this year. Maybe now that they got Peyton Thorne, you can talk me into it. But I think UCLA and Oregon State are both contenders in the Pac-12, so it's a bigger game to me. I mean,
You said Auburn LSU was another one. I mean, that's a really great game. But
Auburn had a losing record last year. They don't have a lot of talent on their roster right now, in my opinion. I know they bring in a bunch of transfers. Maybe that works out. Auburn LSU rivalry I love better than UCLA Oregon State, but I just don't know how good that, especially if it's in Baton Rouge. They could lose by 30. You know what I mean? So, Patty C, what do you make of UCLA Oregon State?
Well, real quick on Auburn LSU, we'll get to that, but that tends to be, I feel like, a really tight game. That said, in terms of quality of football and relevant football, you're probably right that UCLA Oregon State is the bigger game. I think Nick's point about them not wanting any part of the hornet's nest that is Oregon State is probably true. I think I have to favor Oregon State in this game. UCLA would be proving something. Now, UCLA did make that miraculous comeback against who is that? Washington State. That was Leach. I don't think the door will be open to make that kind of comeback against a tougher team like Oregon State. But UCLA can prove something about themselves, and Chip Kelly can too. But I think I have to favor Oregon State here.
Yeah, I think so too. Shout out to Lane Elliott who says, "What's up, guys?" And shout out to Steve Latimer who goes, "South America is the second best America."
Woo! What about Central America?
Yeah,
I'm take like Costa Rica.
All right, NC Nick jumps back to you.
Man, this is so tough here. There's two local games in my state here that I'd love to play. I'm going to play one more before this. And maybe this is coming way out of left field. Maybe I'm overplaying this. But, I mean, you could play 15 games here. I probably wouldn't argue with you. I'm going to go to a weekday game. Possibly the most intriguing one because it is the Holgorsen Bowl.
Yes.
Thursday night, West Virginia at Houston. First ever matchup. And, it's a new Big 12 game. And you got that angle with Holgorsen.
And they hate him. West Virginia fans hate him. They're lucky this is not in Morgantown, though.
That's true. I wish it was. That's true. If Holgorsen goes back to Morgantown, it would be that much better. I wish that was the case. Unfortunately not, but still a fun game to watch on Thursday night.
Yeah, the Roy Munson or Big Earn McCracken Bowl. I don't know who we want to say he looks like with that hair. I think Big Earn McCracken we say. Patty C, West Virginia at Houston, Thursday night, Big 12 action. What do you make of it?
Well, you have just inspired me to root for Houston in this game, just because when they do go back, presumably next year, to West Virginia, the hatred level will be very high for that. It's a good game. I mean, first time around, it's something interesting to watch. I might have chosen a few other ones here, but the Big 12 is both of these teams. I don't know. I mean, what can you really say? Are both of these teams going to be contenders in the long run in the Big 12? I think it really is just the Holgorsen angle.
And weekday.
And yeah, that's true. I mean, that's probably potentially the best weekday game of the week.
I don't know. I guess that's why it's tough because it might not be either. There's at least two others which could, contend for that title.
There's maybe even more than that.
I mean, I love this matchup. I think both will be able to contend. I think West Virginia, with getting Cincinnati and UCF and getting more of a footprint in the east part of the country, I think that helps West Virginia's chances of being better. I think like West Virginia will now be able to recruit better in Florida.
Oh, in the long run, not this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's what he
fair.
said. Yeah,
True. Okay, I was more talking about this year. In the long run, who knows? I don't think Neil Brown's a guy.
Well, and then Houston, obviously, it's like the third biggest city in the U.S. Or fourth biggest city. I don't remember, but I know that team's been wanting a Power 5 chance, so they could be really good down the road.
Well, I think Houston, is a more boom or bust program at this point. I shouldn't say that. I should say there's more swing potential based on their performance, whereas West Virginia is going to be West Virginia. They have their solid, recruiting base and fan base, but I do think you're right. With an expanded Big 12 and more teams close by, they obviously can recruit from those states a little better and probably from their own state a little better.
But no, Patty, I think I agree with Patty. West Virginia is West Virginia. They're always going to be West Virginia. They might bubble up a couple years where everything goes right, but when you have such a lack of talent close by, yeah, it helps where you can recruit nearby states and everything. But there's a lot of competition in those nearby states.
I mean, they're in between Ohio and Pennsylvania. I don't want to say they're not surrounded by talent.
But going to Morgantown compared to going to State College or Columbus or any other of the major programs around there. I mean, that's why West Virginia's always been a pretty good. They've always been, a hard-nosed, tough program, but never the most talented group. I mean, how many all-stars have come from West Virginia in the NFL over the course? A handful, but
I do believe you get, don't shit on Jeff Hostetler. You get, to me, like having Cincinnati now. When you were going into Ohio before, you're like, man, we're playing all of our games in Texas and Oklahoma. Now you can actually say, hey, we play Cincinnati every year. We're going to be playing in Cincinnati, and Morgantown's not far away. You know what I mean? So I think that's an advantage. And also the fact you can go into Florida and say, hey, we play UCF every year or, almost every year.
And they're willing to go get dum-dums. If you can get a coach that can recruit that area, there's a lot of speed, that other teams won't touch.
Well, I'm glad Colby brought up Jeff Hostetler because Hostetler wanted to go to Penn State, but Paterno wanted to make him a linebacker. So that shows you that West Virginia isn't the top tier program that players in that area want to go to.
All right, I'm just saying they've had some good players. Pat White made it to the NFL.
They had some backs. Noel Devine, Amos Zaraway.
They're a solid program for 50 years. Of course, they have a handful of guys. All I'm saying is that, overall their talent hasn't been as high as others around them, like State or Ohio State.
I would argue that they might have. Let's talk about without Texas and Oklahoma. What's the hardest place to go to in the Big 12 and get a dub? Probably Manhattan, right?
Maybe West Texas. Why am I drawing a blank on the
Lubbock? Well, lately it's not like Austin has been up there.
I know, but Norman's always been one of the hardest.
Yeah.
So my point is that Morgantown a top 3 hardest places to win in the new Big 12 once Texas and Oklahoma?
Well, part of that though is the big travel from all those teams in the Mountain or Central Time Zone. If you got a bunch of Northeast schools, it's still a tough place to play, obviously, because Morgantown gets lit. Yeah. But you lose that long travel angle.
True.
It's still very hard. Let me say this. One last thing for me about this game. Both teams are vying for the pecking order here. They're going to come in, and Houston's going to come in and be right around West Virginia's level. So regardless of recruiting implications, these teams are, kind of fighting for their spot in the Big 12.
All right. I agree. Patty C, you're on the clock. All
right, I'm scrolling up. It really doesn't take long. There are 2 SEC games. We've already kind of touched on one. I'm going to play it because it's had such a wonderful history. Of course, we're going to Baton Rouge, where the Tigers will play the Tigers, right? Or War Eagle will play the Tigers. We're going to see if Hugh Freeze can outcoach Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, everyone's assuming, is about to take a step forward and make LSU a true national title contender. LSU, would you call Auburn a bit of a turnkey program based on the amount of talent they have? And is Hugh Freeze the type of guy that is a turnkey coach? Is Auburn going to be good right away?
I don't know about this year, but I think next year, yes. I think, I mean, I do think Hugh Freeze can scheme up with the best of them, but I just thought that the cupboard was pretty empty because they all transferred out because of Harsin. Even the year prior to last year, I feel like Harsin's team lost a bunch of players that didn't want to be there, and he wasn't recruiting at a big time level. But once again, how can you when your own university is creating fake sex scandals about you and your wife? This game's a classic. This game, even though I'm surprised they've only played like 50 some times, I do feel like these games are always fun. They're always really fun to watch. I just wonder this year, will Hugh Freeze's team be decent? I don't know that they will. But yeah, actually, you know what? They probably will because their non-con is ridiculous. You want to talk about – I was thinking about this.
Well, their record might be better than what they actually are.
Have you seen their non-con?
UMass, Cal, Samford, New Mexico State.
I mean, come on.
There's a chance they're 5-1 going into this game.
That's true. And they'll be top 10 probably.
Yeah, but probably not. But so they have at Cal and at A&M and then home to Georgia before this game. And also, don't get me wrong. Hold on. It's a tough road trip, but they have a bye before this.
Wow.
Which
Auburn does.
Yeah.
But for me, this is kind of like Colby's USC Notre Dame. For me, this rivalry hasn't hit me that much. Sure, it's a great game, but in the SEC West, like every week there's great games. For me, it doesn't stand that much head and shoulders above other SEC West games. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's not like must see for me every year.
Well, let's do a quick 1 minute caveat here, or not caveat, sidebar, and let's talk about what the best SEC West games are to you. 10 seconds.
Iron Bowl's got to be number one, right? Iron Bowl 1.
Of course.
Egg Bowl might be number 2 for me. I love the Egg Bowl. The fact they always play on Thanksgiving, I love the Egg Bowl. So those two jump out to me, but this would certainly be right there with him. I did like those Arkansas LSU matchups for a while, but it's right there.
And then there's some newer matchups like A&M Bama, which is interesting, or you could say A&M Arkansas, which is interesting. Or when Coach Leach was there, I thought any game that Michigan State was in was interesting. So
Mississippi State, not Michigan State.
I thought I said Mississippi State.
Short memory you guys have. This game under Les Miles, under, I guess, you can't really say who is the offensive coordinator that ended up being their coach. It wasn't. No.
Well, I can tell you this: the last 7 matchups, 6 of them have been by a score or less. So he's got that in his.
Pretty nice. That's pretty good.
So the rivalry is going good. And look, I think it's a fun rivalry. I actually think
for like 20 years, this game has been like who's going to be number 2 in the SEC behind.
Patty C is a kind of a closet Auburn fan, or maybe not even closet.
I'm not even closet. I'm out of the closet. I am, a flaming Auburn fan here.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I see the chat saying, "What's in the can?" I'm drinking some Colombian beer here.
Oh, and Colby is in the can.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The outhouse.
Look, there's a lot out there that I like, but there's one weekday game that just gets me excited for college football.
Which one? There's so many. There's so many this week. I love it.
I'm taking you to the one on Tuesday.
Nice.
I'm taking you to the one where I actually love this rivalry. Mountains against Meth. Coastal Carolina at Appalachian State. Remember, Big Bird is back at Coastal Carolina, and they also were able to retain their OC, I believe. So as much as I didn't care for the hire of Tim Beck, I think he did a great job keeping some of the continuity there. And I think they'll probably be better than what I originally thought when they hired him. And then you have App State, who was just 6-6 a year ago, beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. They're out of their 6 losses, 5 of them were by a score or less. And they were just an unlucky team. I know they had the Hail Mary as one of their wins. So you say that's luck. But to lose that many close games, They were an unlucky team by definition last year. I think App State was a lot better than that. And Coastal Carolina, App State, Tuesday night. This is, in my opinion, this is like new college football. When me and Nick first started watching college football in the 90s, I know App State was good in the FCS, but this rivalry has came up, and this is like what I envision 50 years from now. This one's going to be a heater. This is going to be a heater. Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State. Nick, your thoughts?
You know I love the game, man. And funny timing because our big App State fan, Blanton Stamey, just joined the chat right before Colby mentioned that. So I don't know if Colby was trying to appease him or it's just a coincidence. But no, this is a great game, man. And it really has, came up into a nice new rivalry, which with, the beach versus the mountains. I know App State calls Coastal the beach chickens. And I went to this game last year. I was in Conway for this game last year. I walked into the stadium, and the student section is saying, fuck App State, fuck App State. So it's fun on both sides. I like both programs, so I'm kind of in the middle here. But Coastal Carolina has never won in Boone. Now, they've only played there maybe 3 times, but they've never won in Boone.
Check this out. They have played 6 times, and they are 0-6. In Boone.
Look at that.
All right. 0-6 in Boone.
As Sunbelt opponents, they're 0-2 or 0-3 in Boone. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
But this is what I mean by the new college football. Weekday games that this game, I'll take this over a lot of the stuff on Saturday. This is a game that like I mark my calendar for every year. So, Patty C, what do you make of Coastal heading to Boone to take on App State in the Forest?
Well, I would say this is basically the quintessential Sun Belt game at this point. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but they're kind of the programs that are super passionate about their school, that are finding good coaches over and over through a dedication to the sport of football, and you're right. These are the type of teams that do presumably continue their success through that formula. They're not reliant on other factors like money or a huge contract, this or that. You're passionate about your squad, and you do a good job finding coaches, right? Coastal Carolina certainly the newer money in this relationship. App State, an established brand. I don't know. I think it's amazing.
Who do you like more, Patty C?
I think I like App State more.
Me too.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. But I was just recently reading a preview on Coastal, and I'm starting to maybe buy in. I mean, I think they're going to be like really run heavy this year. I don't know. I'm starting to think that originally I thought I was kind of down on Coastal with the Tim Beck hire, but I don't know. Just reading that preview, hearing a couple things, I'm like, all right, maybe they'll be a little bit better than I expected. And with App State, the Chase Bryce is gone, and they were very disappointing last year. They should have won much, at least 2 or 3 more games than they did. They really disappointed. So it's a huge year for Sean Clark in year 3, I think.
Yeah, but I mean they were in every game but one. I think the Texas State game was the only game, and that was a bad loss.
And Blanton says I need to be at this game. I'd love to. I'm telling you, on a Tuesday night, it might be tough for me to get to Boone.
Well, if old Pick Dundee comes to town,
well, then I might have to, make an exception.
All right, we might have to wheel and deal here. All right,
both teams obviously buying.
Say that again.
Both teams obviously coming off a bye for the Tuesday game, so well prepared. I don't know. Both teams could be there's a couple tough games on each of their slates, but one of these teams, we're assuming both of them are kind of past their like absolute peak and maybe headed for, some 9 to 10 win seasons as opposed to 11 and 12 win seasons. Could this game propel one of them back up into the higher stratosphere?
Yes, perhaps. I mean, I wish it was like Halloween weekend where it's colder. A little colder, but we'll see.
Well, one more thing on this, because Neil just mentioned in the chat Big Bird. So Big Bird is just a nickname we made up for Grayson McCall because Chanticleer is a bird and he's the quarterback, so he became Big Bird. He I don't believe he is. Never mind. I won't even say that. But
the chat. Shout out to Neil. You're cracking us up. And folks, you can watch this youtube.com/the college football experience. But yes, that is my final play. And hang on one second, because we're going to get to the other side of this thing. All right, we are back on the college football experience. This is the B side, as I just drafted App State and Coastal Carolina Tuesday night Sunbelt Funbelt action. What's not to like? Folks, go listen to the first hour where we talked about our top games, and then also potential, ACC, what's happening with their football conference, and Big 12 expansion. Just an expansion episode. I feel like we also touched base on the transfer portal and EA Sports college football game. So check that out. But here we are, NC Nick. You're on the clock. Boom.
All right, I guess I'll take you to another SEC game, and there's a couple good ones here. I'll go Texas A&M at Tennessee, just because we don't see this very often. They've only played twice as SEC opponents, with A&M actually winning both. A&M, who knows what to expect, man? All the talent in the world. Very disappointing last year. Tennessee, true, maybe. I think they could be in store for a bounce-back year, just because I think a lot of people have written them off, and they do have some new coaching, on their staff, and they still have talent. So I think this is an interesting game in Knoxville. A&M at Tennessee.
And once again, shout out to our guy GBO Farms, and I'm curious to see if Tennessee can do this again.
Yes.
I just touched on App State losing all their close games for the most part. Tennessee won all their close games. Is that sustainable year in, year out with Josh Heupel? We will see. Texas A&M at Tennessee. Patty C, what do you make of old Jimbo coming into Knoxville? Hopefully they throw some mustard or some neck braces at Petrino or something. I don't know. What do you make of this one, Patty?
Well, I think the home field advantage is massive for Tennessee here, but I do think you're right. The talent on A&M is still there, and if they have an OC like Petrino actually dialing up some 21st century offense, then we're looking at a potential shootout. And so this game could be more memorable than we're anticipating, just with the score and the talent on display. But this game might have been deserved to be played higher. We're just assuming A&M won't be that good. But if Tennessee gets back to where they were last year and A&M comes up from where they were, and goes back to where they were a couple years ago, then who knows? At this point in the season, could be a top 10 matchup.
True. And Neil says we need a college experience dictionary webpage. That we should get the ball rolling on that. Shout out to Dick Gertzberger also, who says they sell Schlitz at my liquor store. Do I see you drinking a Keystone Light now? This is Aguilar.
No, is he the kicker for ECU?
Yeah, I mean, if so, he can't hit shit. Anyway, I like this game. This is one that could be good or could be terrible. Like I don't know. Texas A&M is playing with a ton of fireworks on that sidelines. Like, I could see it working great. I could see them fucking winning the SEC West. I could also see them going 4-8 and firing Jimbo Fisher. So they are a complete mystery team to me going into college football season 2000 or the 23 season. Tennessee, I actually think, even though they did win all those close games, I think Heupel's got this program. Their NIL collectives is in. I think they're going to be winning. Now, they might not win 10 games or 11 games, but they're going to have a winning season. So I believe that they're going to be good. A&M probably going to be good, but I don't know, man. You have Petrino, Adazio, Jimbo Fisher, Durkin, all of them just sitting there. Fireworks. A lot of fireworks.
Is Tennessee solidified as the second best team in the SEC East?
Yes. Yes.
Last year was just 1 year.
Florida sucks right now.
I agree. I agree.
I mean,
I think they
maybe
are.
you could talk me into South Carolina, maybe, or no.
Kentucky's better than South Carolina.
But Tennessee, I can't take Kentucky there. I can't.
No, I agree. I think Tennessee is.
I mean, South Carolina has more big game potential than Kentucky. Clearly on display at the end of last year.
True. Very true. But Patty C, you're on the clock. Where are you taking us?
Oh, there's some options on this point in the slate. Oh boy, you know what? I am taking us to what is that? Madison, Wisconsin, where the Hawkeyes will be playing the Badgers. We are going to get a first look on how this Phil Longo-led, Tanner Mordecai-led, Luke Fickell-led Wisconsin Badgers football team operates against the old blood in fucking Ferentz, Kirk Ferentz. And we're going to see if the 25 point per game ultimatum on Brian Ferentz is kept for this game. And they're probably going to need it to keep up with this Wisconsin offense unless Kirk Ferentz is a magician, because this offense has flown against almost everyone they've played.
I mean, we have seen this game I had circled because this is like the Holgerson Bowl to me, because you have Wisconsin and Iowa who have had the same identity forever. And Wisconsin's abandoning that to move with the masses in this bullshit cha-cha-cha offense, right? And well, I mean, I like that offense, but just not at Wisconsin. So you have contrast in styles here. Iowa is what Wisconsin's been for 30 fucking years. I'm curious how this will work out. I'm very curious how it will work out. It's in Madison, jump around. Maybe you got that going. You know what they're calling that offense, right, guys? This is a great name. The Dairy Raid offense, the air raid. Phil Longo comes from Mike Leach's tree. They're calling it the Dairy Raid. I love that offense. Or I love that name.
That name alone has me sold.
Dairy Raid offense. Iowa, Wisconsin, Nick, your thoughts? You hate the Big Ten West, Nick.
I am a noted Big Ten West hater, but I do like this game. I mean, they've been playing since 1894, 49-45-2 in Wisconsin's favor. And I think Wisconsin is one of the most interesting teams to watch this year. And I don't know if I've ever said that ever before because they are drastically changing offensive philosophies, and they are against another team that is not. So, I'm very much looking forward to this game this year, and it's well played here.
Very well played. What's that?
Have we ever seen the air raid run with a bunch of corn-fed white boys as the offensive line? I mean, I guess Nebraska.
Yes, the air raid was created at Iowa Wesleyan. And by the way, that school this week, I think, shut their doors for good because they're in debt. But my point is it was born in the cornfields, all right? It was born in I'm sure. I know. And guess what? Dana Holgerson was on that team. Dana Holgerson played at Iowa Wesleyan. So we've come full circle. It's back. The Dairy Raid is going. And shout out to the chat. Weehawk says, could you add as part of the show during each week which game was the most overrated? Yeah, we could do that. We could do that as the season, goes along.
Oh, so he's talking like in the season we talk about it. That's interesting. I originally thought he meant to our off-season shows. I'm like, Weehawk, I love you, man, but our shows are already 2.5 hours long.
No, he means in the fall.
I understand it now. I got you.
And it's Iowa Wesleyan, Weehawk. Yes, not Western. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this game's awesome to me. Well played, and I love the drama. There's a lot of games this week that I thought have that Holgerson-type drama. I think this is one of them, and yeah. Your boy Dundee's back on the clock, and man, there's a few out there. Obviously, no. Guys, I know you guys will be keying in on a lot of other games. We got Mormons versus Christians going on in Fort Worth. All right. And BYU, TCU just sounds fun to me. It just sounds fun to me. BYU heading into TCU. Sign me up for this. I know there's probably a Big 12 game there that is probably more likely to have championship teams in it, but I just like BYU at TCU. I think it's going to be.
I don't know if I'd agree with that statement you just made. I mean, TCU just went to the national championship game.
True.
Let alone the Big 12 championship game.
They lost a ton on that team, And now BYU, I do think is going to be. I've already made this case. I think they're going to be the team that is most equipped to join the Big 12. Hit the ground running. So sign me up for BYU at TCU. Patty C, your thoughts?
Well, BYU is kind of what TCU was a decade ago. They've had, obviously, probably last year I don't think was quite as successful as the previous 2 years, but the previous 2 years I want to say there were 10-win seasons. They were kind of snubbed out of a top 10 ranking. I feel like the committee wanted to keep the independent team without any big games on their schedule, especially during the COVID season, out of the top 10, despite an amazing season that they had. Satake could get a big win here. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the future of Big 12 football. And how many times have these teams played before?
They weren't played. I have it right here. They have played 11 times before. They were in the Mountain West for a little bit together, and from 2005 to 2011, they played every year. Now, here's the thing: TCU and Gary Patterson went 5-2 in that stretch. Prior to that, BYU had been kicking their ass in their other matchups, but since Gary Patterson has came to TCU, they have had the number of BYU. So this is it's an old rivalry back. Let's go. Nick, or what's that?
I like it. It's a fun game. Patty C, you got something else you want to add?
I was just gonna say this is what the Big 12's identity is not the blue blood moving forward, but the chippy ass team that did what TCU could do or did against Michigan last year is win in the playoff, and these are both these schools are that.
Yeah, so I think it's the best of the new Big 12 games this week, even though I played West Virginia Houston before. That was because of an interesting angle and a weekday game. But actually, as far as the best game, this is probably it as far as the new Big 12 schools. So I think BYU TCU is fun.
And you got to remember, I mean, TCU played for the national championship last year. BYU's won 2 national championships in my lifetime. 83, or was it 84? 83, I think it was. And then in 96, which they have yet to acknowledge, but they did win it in 96 in my eyes too, because they had the same record as the Florida Gators.
I don't think the 83 game was in your lifetime, but it was close. It was
84, right, when they won it, right?
Okay, I don't know.
When they had Coach Leach, he was on that sidelines.
All right,
he's a GA. All right, NC Nick, it's about to bounce back to you, but before I do that, I want to tell you folks that the college football experience is brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, SGPN is excited to announce an exclusive early access partnership with Edge Boost, the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Similar to buy now, pay later programs like Affirm or Afterpay, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest and pay back the advance over 4 equal weekly installments. That's right, 0% interest. Simply deposit funds into your account, and Edge Boost will match the deposit, so you can use 2 times the funds on any legal sports betting site. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in advances as you build a repayment history. My Edge Boost double down play of the day. I mentioned this in week 1 or on part 1. Pittsburgh Maulers, USFL. Take it this weekend. Lay the 2.5 against the Memphis Showboats. That is my play. And so with this special offer, the first 500 SGPN users will start at $1,000 advance limit, and the next 2,500 only valid in legal gambling states. Problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. We are back on the college football experience, and NC Nick is on the clock.
Man, I'm torn here. Let me go back to a weekday game and Friday night. We haven't touched on Friday night yet. There's 2 very intriguing games Friday night. I'm going to take you to the early one just because due to timing alone, that's probably the game I'm going to watch. Tulane at Memphis. This is maybe under the radar, AAC game where the home team in this matchup has won the last 6 times. So don't just expect Tulane's going to walk in to Liberty Stadium, the Liberty Bowl, and get an easy W just because they won double-digit games last year. I think this is a fun game, Tulane, Memphis. Come on, man. It is that great regional matchup, Mississippi River, not too far from each other. Give me that one.
You gotta love it. And look, I know we give Ryan Silverchild a hard time on this one, but Silverhairs actually, he didn't get fired. We kind of thought he should have got fired, but he was 0-4 in one-score games last year. They lost by 1 to Houston. Remember when Houston got the onside kick?
Oh, that's right.
He was able to rally. They lost by 2 to ECU in 4 overtimes. They lost by 7 to UCF, by 3 to SMU, kept it within 10 with Tulane. He's right there. The only team that beat their ass was Mississippi State in week 1. Patty C, Tulane, Memphis, Mississippi River football.
Oh, you got to love it. We just saw this matchup in the USFL. It was dynamite. The Memphis team handed to the New Orleans team their first loss. And so, yeah.
You got a breath, buddy? Would you just run a mile?
Oh, boy. I let Colby's dog out for 1 second. He took me on a wild goose chase. He was acting all sketch, licking the floor and whatnot. So I said, maybe this guy needs to go out. But anyway, yeah, I'm out of shape. Anyway, yeah, no, this game is good. And it's probably for, who knows how good Memphis is going to be. It's a tough road trip for Tulane. And it could be the type of game that ruins this is the final year of the New Year's Six Bowls in the way that they currently stand. So Tulane could be going for another Sugar Bowl or maybe even a playoff berth if they're having a magical season. And this could be the type of game that could really F it up.
There we go. Tulane, Memphis, Mississippi River football. Patty C, it jumps back to you. Where are you taking us?
I kind of am tempted to go a little bit off the beaten path here. And we're going to go with two of the guys that have kind of revolutionized offense in football, maybe the two of the most recent ones. Obviously, rest in peace, Mike Leach. But we have Liberty at Jacksonville State. We have Jamie Chadwell traveling to play Rich Rodriguez. And we're going to see dynamite offenses on display. So sign me up on a weeknight, on a Tuesday.
I feel like if you had told me 5 years ago that Liberty, Jacksonville State would play in our top, 11 games, I would say you're fucking insane. But you're right. Chadwell against Rich Rodriguez seems fucking fun. It seems really fun to watch. Nick, Liberty at Jacksonville State. Your thoughts?
It is a fun matchup. Maybe we're playing it a tad too early given some of the other big matchups still out there, but I'm not going to argue with it. Of course, it will probably – yeah, but the problem is it'll probably be at the same time as Coastal App. Obviously, look, we all have more than one TV. It'll be on the air, but I think my main focus will be on Coastal App. So with that, things it down a notch or two. So it's a fun game. Possibly just played a bit too early.
Oh, he's coming at you.
Kind of, in a bit of a rush there to get one pick. Didn't have time to size it up as I was chasing the dog around.
Back your pick up, all right? Don't waffle on it. Back it up, damn it.
No, and as far as personal preference, I'm watching Jacksonville State like a hawk. And quite frankly, Rich Rodriguez could be the next state coach at Liberty. He's got ties up in that Virginia, West Virginia area. And Chadwell might be
he just got hired.
He might be a short timer at Liberty. Look, you take them to a 10
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
All of a sudden, Florida's calling. All of a sudden, Shane Beamer goes elsewhere, whatever. Coaching carousel spins like no one's business. So Chadwell's a hot name.
Patty, do me a favor, take that dog for a walk again.
All right. Look, guys, there's a lot out there that I'm intrigued by. I think this week's deep. But I get it. We got the Hogerson Bowl going on. But Thursday night, I expect, if you listen to the first part of this episode, SMU to be a part of the Pac-12 come July 1st. SMU is going to be leaving the AAC. And there's a chance with the roster and the NIL collective they have that everyone, says they're going to be AAC champions their final year. Well, You forget they got to go into G Vegas in Greenville, North Carolina. Thursday night action. This is a preview. Maybe this is going to be the AAC Championship. SMU at ECU. You know.
We believe in the pirates, in the spirit of ECU.
This play's going to burn down. Let's go. Nick, SMU at ECU, your thoughts?
My thoughts are I should just quit my job. We could catch Coastal App in Boone on Tuesday night. Then, come back to Raleigh. The next day, head down to Greenville, watch SMU at ECU. North Carolina football, baby, on the map.
And I'll have you know, ECU leads this all-time series, of course, because that's what they do. They dominate. Patty C, ECU, SMU, Thursday night.
Well, what I am curious about in this game is the quarterback play. With Tanner Mordecai gone, I'm looking up ECU's quarterback situation right now.
Mordecai's gone though because Preston Stone was pushing him anyway, so they kind of were not upset when he left.
Well, if you get a 5-star walking out the door because he's getting pushed by another 5-star, then that's a good situation to be in at SMU. ECU, on the other hand, has Mason Garcia. Know nothing about the guy.
Highest QB recruit ever by ECU.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well, maybe the quarterback play will be better than I thought it would. It's a long trip for SMU, Dallas over to the East Coast. I do think it'll be competitive, and I think because of the home field advantage and the lit environment that is Greenville, we could have a competitive game here.
Gotta love it. Thursday night. This might outshine. This game might actually be better than the Holgorsen.
I'm actually surprised you played this game over your other favorite team playing Friday night.
Well, it's tough. By the way, shout out to this lineup. If they could give me my favorite teams every Thursday and Friday and then just focus on a bunch of other college football on Saturday, I'd be all on board.
That's really why he loves this week.
Yes, this week's fantastic. Yes, that's my play. Let's jump back over to NC Nick as I need to find the draft music again. But people in Greenville are already saying,
They're begging us. Please have a party. Feed us drinks. Get us laid. Ow!
NC Nick is on the clock. Where you going?
Why not? Speaking of the other Friday game, it is going to be the nightcap. It is Stanford at Colorado. What more do you want to say? I mean, Colby, what team do you like better between ECU and Colorado if they were playing each other, and what team will have more W's this year?
I think so. My whole life, I've been a Colorado fan. I've been a fan longer at Colorado, but I think with ECU, there's something just magical about it. I think I would root for ECU to beat Colorado.
Well, you spent more time in Greenville than Boulder.
Yes. But I
did
get severely intoxicated in both. But I think ECU will probably have more wins this year. I'm actually not as a lot of people are turned off because look, ECU did get destroyed in the portal, but I actually buy into the culture a little bit, and we've been active in the portal. Actually, just landed a Colorado wideout. I think we'll be all right this year. The schedule's a little tough.
Now, did you facilitate that between Colorado and ECU, that wideout?
I was that guy. I said, look, here's an NIL collective. It's called Venmo. Here's $20. Go play for the Pirates. But Stanford, Colorado is interesting because Troy Taylor comes into Stanford, and I think everyone kind of yawns and falls asleep, but that guy really built up Sacramento State's program. They were undefeated in the regular season last year. And they were really good. They were really good in the Big Sky, which is one of the best conferences in the FCS. So I'm intrigued to see what he does there. And then obviously Colorado's must-watch TV this year. I feel like everyone knows that. You just saw Fox tweet out that besides the Michigan-Ohio State game, their biggest game of the season, besides that is TCU-Colorado Week 1.
Wow.
So the eyeballs will be there. Dion, primetime against Stanford? Just sounds weird, but I'm excited for it. Patty C, Stanford at Colorado, Friday night. What are your thoughts?
Definitely a clash of styles there with primetime bringing. I see Colorado wearing Nike, so primetime is all the way back. And something wasn't right with him wearing the Under Armour at Jackson State. So Prime will be swagging it. Stanford going to be, square, Johnny America football. Sacramento State, though, last year, 12-1, did not score less than 27 points the entire year and scored 63 points in a losing effort in the FCS quarterfinals. Stanford, I don't think, has had an offense that explosive, and who knows how long. So they all of a sudden might become an interesting team, like you said. Under the radar. Primetime, certainly not under the radar. Ultimately, a fun contrast of styles and a fun matchup.
Patty C is on the clock with pick 14. Where are you taking us?
Well, Nick, I'm really shocked you haven't played this, and I kind of want to play it, but I'm going to leave it for you because there is a fun one out there, and I'm sure you're going to be playing it soon. So instead of that, let me take you to just good old SEC football. And who knows how?
Don't play it.
Don't play it.
I just
act like this is an ass kicking waiting to happen, and maybe it is, but old pulled pork Pittman. What were you playing? Playing it?
No, I said, because they get their ass whooped in Tuscaloosa, I feel like.
Hey, last game in Tuscaloosa was a 7-point game.
Okay, but the ones before that was 41. The time before that was 32. The time before that was 13. The time before that was 52. Look.
Cut your man some slack here. This isn't top 10, okay? Where were we at? Pick 16?
This is in Fayetteville. I'm on board, man. But this,
it's in Fayetteville's top 10. I think it's played appropriately. Yes, Bama's won 16 straight times. They're probably going to win again. But at this point in the week, I'm okay with this.
I'll lay 21.
Wow. Oh, man. KJ Jefferson gone, right?
No, he's there, but Kendall Briles gone. Their whole defense gone. That's going to be the interesting fact is to see if Pork Pittman can keep the culture up with they lost their Barry Odom's the head coach at UNLV. Kendall Briles is at TCU, and a lot of their position coaches left for like other position coaching jobs.
Well, guess what happened at Alabama? Offensive coordinator gone. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback gone.
First round running back gone.
Yeah. Couple things to replace there. Arkansas is not some pushover here. And if you're not careful, you're going to have a game on your hands late in the fourth quarter.
I'll lay the 21. I will lay the 21. But look, we'll go back. We'll come back to this one when the season heats up. Nick, your thoughts on Arkansas, Bama?
Yeah, I've already summed it up. I think it's a decent game. Yes, at Arkansas would be a lot better, of course. But we're in the middle, teens or so. So it deserves to be played here.
We just played Stanford, Colorado over this game.
But that's a weeknight game. That's a weeknight game.
We played Liberty at Jacksonville State over this game.
Dude, but I expect Liberty Jacksonville State to be closer than Arkansas Bama. Arkansas at Bama, I think, is an ass kicking. I actually think this is like in the high 20s for me. Arkansas at Alabama. So I'll get to a game that I think is better. I touch base on this. I disagree with NC Nick in a way. All right. I played BYU TCU because of the Mormons versus Christian angle. And I kind of think this is the best Big 12 game of the week because I think this very well could be the Big 12 championship. Kansas State heading to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech.
No. I said the best the best game with a new Big 12 team.
Okay, well, Kansas State at Texas Tech to me is a game that I'm very interested in watching because it is a tough road trip, as Patty C alluded to earlier, going to Lubbock. K-State returns their whole offensive line. Will Howard's back at quarterback. They go out and get Corbin, the running back from Florida State, in the portal, who I think it might even be an upgrade as far as physicality. I think K-State is the team to beat in the Big 12. And this is a sneaky road trip where they could get beat. Texas Tech flew under the radar last year. It was a great season, great year one for Joey McGuire. Can he keep it up? Texas Tech hosting K-State. Much closer game, much better game than a few of the games we've played, I'll say.
Yeah, you're probably right. There's something about Kansas State at Texas Tech that doesn't really do it for me.
You're a Big 12 hater, though.
Apparently,
I don't know. I'm with Nick. It's tough in this like flyover country to get excited about some games that aren't registering as having a specific angle. Always or some level of hatred. We're basically just seeing Kansas State, who's a good team, going into a hornet's nest, which is Lubbock.
And I think that's the problem, though, is that Texas Tech hasn't really been relevant in a long time.
Well, last year they were, but no one noticed.
Were they that relevant?
I mean, they won 8 games as the most they've won since Mike Leach left.
It was a very quiet 8 games. Admit that.
In year 1 of a coach? Come on, that's a great job.
But I'm not saying it wasn't a great job. I'm saying on a national scale, it was a very quiet 8-4.
Well, okay, you want more? Then let's go. What? I am counting 6 of the last 7 by 10 points or less.
I'm not arguing that it's not going to be a very competitive, intriguing game. I'm just saying.
And let's be honest, the team TCU that played in the national championship, they didn't win the Big 12. Kansas State did. And Kansas State would have swept them had Will Howard and Adrian Martinez not gotten injured in the first matchup.
I do think it's a very tricky spot here. It's a very tricky road game for K-State. I agree.
Sign me up for it. This is the best Big 12 game of the week, probably.
Deuce Vaughn, a Dallas Cowboy now. Will Howard has played 3 years and hasn't completed over 60% of his passes in any of those 3 years. Do you worry about that offense without Deuce Vaughn?
No, I think the run game is going to be better this year because they returned the whole offensive line. And Deuce Vaughn wasn't a physical runner. They went out and got that kid from Florida State. What's his name? Tashawn
Ward.
He's
good. He's good.
Yeah. I think that run game is going to be nastier. And Howard took a big step from 2 years ago to last year as far as accuracy. I was really impressed with his development last year. And if he can take another step, then watch out. Yeah.
54% completion percentage in 2021, 59% in 2022. That's a big jump. You do that, you do another 5% this year, you got a decent quarterback on your hands.
Yeah, let's go. Sign me up for it.
Well, thank you for leaving me. Am I up?
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you for leaving this for me, Patty C. Because I was getting cute with some other games. I was definitely wanting to come back to this one. So Colby, Tuesday will be at App State. Thursday will be at ECU, and Saturday will be in Durham for NC State at Duke. Look, this is personal for me because yes, much like the game you just played, most of the country probably doesn't give 2 shits about this game. I realize that. But we are talking about a team that won 9 wins a year ago versus a team that won 8 wins a year ago. And the ACC is as wide open as it's ever been. So give me NC State at Duke.
Did you see what I tweeted out? Follow the college football experience on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. I tweeted out Duke was 16 points away from being undefeated.
Boom.
Undefeated. 16 points away from being an undefeated ACC football team.
One last thing, too, here. So this is only the second game in the last 10 years. So thankfully, the stupid divisions are done, and we're going to see a lot more of NC State versus Duke because the 2 teams are 20 miles apart, and we only played twice in the last 10 years for some ridiculous reason.
You know, it is ridiculous, though, the conference realignment stuff. Like, I also tweeted out Wake Forest's record over the past, I think, 9 college football seasons is 53-35, right? That is better than Miami, Auburn, Texas, Tennessee, Florida State, Michigan State, South Carolina, North Carolina, UCLA, just some to name, right? Wow. And some of them are by a substantial amount. And they're going to get left behind because they don't draw a great TV rating. It's ridiculous that winning doesn't even matter when these TV execs are calling the shots. It's like this program has been stable, way more stable than a bunch of other programs that get the national draw. That's what happens when you put TV execs in charge, and it sucks. But yes, NC State, Duke. Duke is another one that I think I'm really impressed with Mike Elko. Maybe it's the college football fan in me. I think Duke's must-watch TV every week this year because of what Mike Elko did in year 1. I thought he was a great hire, but I thought it was gonna take a year or two. They didn't even get hit in the portal that bad. They were able to keep a lot of their talent there. Yeah, they were able to keep their talent there. I think Duke could be a sleeper to win the ACC this year. I mean, NC State as well is a good team. They can bring in Brendan Armstrong and Robert and I. So they have that.
That's the best thing Colby said about NC State in like 2 years. That they're a good team.
I know, right?
Record-wise, we all know they're lucky as fuck.
That slipped. That was a slip.
Yeah, I'm trying to sell the game, guys. Patty C, what do you make of NC State at Duke?
Well, sure. I mean, like you said, Robert and I and Brendan Armstrong, the last time we saw them together, they were lighting up scoreboards like UVA's never seen before. Will they be able to continue that at Duke? Mike Elko, obviously being a defensive guy. You have a little, black versus white here. Not black versus white, but, opposites going against each other. So we're going to see. I think Elko is my lean here to have the edge, especially at home. Not that Durham is a especially hard place to play, but I think Duke is the better team this year. But either way, if NC State, because you said Beck's gone, right? Who's running?
Anai. You just talked about him.
Wait, Anai? No, who's the? Oh, Beck was the OC. Yeah, that's right. It's still Dave Doran. But yeah, that does make a big difference offensively. So maybe NC State's ready for a step forward, but Duke could be in their way.
Patty C, it jumps back to you. You're going to play that rivalry game that the ACC deemed a rival, Syracuse, Florida State?
I'm not going to play that game, but I am tempted to play another ACC game that undoubtedly Colby will laugh at. But you know what? Screw it. I'm still going to play it. We're talking about Miami at North Carolina.
I was actually just about to play this, so you're good. You're good.
Okay. Look, North Carolina, I feel like, has been in the ACC Championship a couple times lately. I'd have to double check on that. I know Miami's gone relatively recently, and they're supposed to be trending in the right direction with Cristobal at the helm. Look, you have two big-name coaches. I don't know if you have two good coaches anymore, Mac Brown and Mario Cristobal, and two big-name programs. So, whatever.
No, I mean, I was actually going to play it because it's still compelling to me. And no matter what we say, look, I mean, first off, North Carolina does have Drake May, who they're saying is going to be one of the top picks of the draft. So you have him against Van Dyke, who they said that about the year prior. So you got little quarterback battles. Can they avoid the jinx? But another thing is Miami's got their ass kicked lately by not ass kicked. They've been losing. Well, one of them was an ass kicking where they gave up 62 to North Carolina.
That was the game where UNC ran for like 500 yards. Remember Javonte Williams, Michael Carter?
Yeah.
It was awful.
So they've lost 4 straight to Carolina, but last year was 27-24. The year before that, 45-42, then 62-26, and 28-25. But so since Mac Brown's been there, since Mac Brown's came back, he's undefeated against Miami. So that is compelling. We'll see if Cristobal, who I thought I hate to brag, but I was spot on being a terrible hire. We'll see if maybe he can make me look like a fool in year 2. Nick, what do you make of this one, ACC Nick?
No, this has been a fun matchup lately. Like you said, other than the blowout, the other 3 UNC wins have all been by a field goal each time. So there have been close games. And it's something about when these teams play. I don't know. It jumps off the screen to me. I want to watch. There's been a lot of action, a lot of scoring, and the games have been close. I like the game.
Nick, and maybe NC State Duke will be the noon, and this will be the night. So you could do NC State at Duke and then Miami at North Carolina.
It's only 10 miles apart, man. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Going hard. Let me say this. When you say it jumps off screen, there is something about Miami in their whites kind of fitting into that ACC visual aesthetic. It's just there's something very pussy about the ACC aesthetic. And Miami in their white uniforms against North Carolina in their blue.
UNC fits into that pussiness, definitely.
They're big time. No, they're the quintessential pussy. Anyway.
You know who leads this all-time series, guys? North Carolina Tar Heels, not the Miami. Yeah. Interesting. All right, Patty. Or wait, now it jumps over to me. And I'm going to take you to, I know you want me to play some of these cha-cha-cha games out there, but man, you know, I'm not going to take the bait on some of this. All right. Gosh. I almost played a weekday game. But instead, I'm going to take you to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Lance Leipold and the Kansas Jayhawks are heading into Stillwater. And I expect Mike Gundy, I know Spencer Sanders is gone. Don't worry. Gundy will have that offense going. I don't give a shit who he's got to use. They've always been good offensively.
Is it Bowman from Texas Tech?
Yeah, they got Bowman, but they also have a redshirt freshman that apparently is pushing Bowman. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. But one of the two, don't worry, that offense will still fly. And then you have Jalen Daniels and Jason Bean. This game is going to be explosive. I can guarantee you that. Kansas at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I made the case that I think the Big 12 is the most interesting conference in college football. I think every game. Look at the games we touched on. West Virginia, Houston. Got no idea who's winning it. I don't even have a lean. Right? BYU at TCU. I guess we maybe lean TCU, but TCU played so many close games last year. I expect that to be a close game. K-State, Texas Tech. I guess I lean K-State, but not by much. Kansas at Oklahoma State. I got no fucking idea who's winning this game. Nick, your thoughts?
No, it definitely belongs to be played here. It is a game where both these teams could win 7 or 8, I guess, if not more games this year. So it's an interesting matchup, and it's played in the right spot. I won't argue with it.
Patty C, Kansas, Oklahoma State.
No, let me say this: you're so low on the ACC for their second-rate football and being a big-time basketball conference, or what they had been, And here the Big 12 is the same thing. It's the same exact thing as the ACC. None of these teams are national championship contenders. I mean, I guess TCU just made it. Wow. Rattled by 79 points in the championship game. So.
And ACC's had a few teams make the national championship game recently also.
Okay.
Have they?
Well, Clemson. Well, I'm saying that's one program. There was different Clemson teams make it.
Oh, okay. Good.
Stretching it.
Okay. Has it been multiple Big 12 teams that have made it? Did Oklahoma get there one time, or did they just lose in the semifinals?
Semifinals, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a bummer. Yeah, that's a bummer. Kind of like not making the Final Four this year.
Well,
I think if you're the best conference in college basketball, you at least have one team in the Final Four.
But some of that was bullshit. We know certain teams got robbed some seeding where they just put Clemson in there because they beat Boston College. Look, this is a rivalry that Oklahoma State had dominated before Lance Leipold. But Lance Leipold gets there, and I know his first matchup, I think it might have been his first Big 12 game. They got their ass whooped 55-3. But year 2, different story. They won 37-16.
That's crazy.
So let's go. This game's awesome. Big 12, way better than the ACC.
That's an unbelievable turnaround. You lose by 52 one year and win by 21 the next year, is it?
Yep.
That's wild.
Let's get it done. Lance Leipold building something. Going back to Stillwater will be difficult, but this is kind of one of those prove it and benchmark games for him if he gets it done.
And the all-time series, believe it or not, Oklahoma State only has an 11-game lead. So it's not that – it's kind of tight all-time series. They've been playing it. They've been playing it for a long fucking time too. So, all right.
Gail Sayers and John Riggins were there to say something about it before Barry Sanders got to Oklahoma State. That's
true. These are probably Gail Sayers, John Riggins against Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. What's not to like? All right, NC Nick.
Well, screw you. Let's go back to the ACC. Louisville at Pitt, buddy. Your Louisville Cardinals going to win the national championship this year.
I almost played this one. This was either this or Kansas and Oklahoma State.
You mentioned last week that the two tough road trips are at NC State and at Pitt. And, the one thing I didn't realize was Pitt has a bye before this also, which I think that makes this road trip a little bit even tougher. So it isn't like I just mentioned in the other ACC matchup I played. The ACC is wide open. It is kind of like the Big 12. It is wide open. And both of these teams could be vying for a spot in that championship game. Why not?
I think Louisville's going to play in the championship game, and I think this is the game they're going to lose. I think they're going to beat NC State at NC State, but I think the physicality of Pat Narduzzi's teams is going to pose a problem for Jeff Brom and the Louisville Cardinals. So I think you're right. I think it's a good game. Former Big East teams, remember, they used to play in the Big East a while back, and I would have played this one, but the deciding factor was they play at that NFL stadium, and I don't know if it's going to be packed. And I know that it will be packed in Stillwater. Fair enough. Louisville, Pitt, and that's really the difference between the Big 12 and the ACC is how many of those environments do you have in the ACC?
Can't argue with that.
You have like Duke, North Carolina, Boston College, Pitt. That's at UVA. That's like you have like Miami. You have like half your conference doesn't even show up to the fucking game.
That's true.
So Louisville at Pitt.
I got no rebuttal there.
Yeah, Patty C. What do you make? What do you make of that one?
Well, Rust Belt football deserves a little shine too. We talk about Northeast football a lot. Rust Belt football is kind of a clusterfuck. Cincinnati's in the Big 12. West Virginia's in the Big 12. Meanwhile, right next door, Louisville and Pittsburgh in the ACC. Even though these teams don't have like an established long-term rivalry, even again, where divisions have been a bad thing. And wait, is the ACC getting away from divisions this year?
Yes, it's done. Think of the past.
So is this one going to be one of their protected rivalries, Louisville and Pitt?
I don't recall.
Should be.
Yeah,
it should be
probably.
Well, I need to double check that, but these two.
Well, you don't need to double check. The conference isn't going to exist in a couple of years.
Or a couple of weeks. You know,
this will be a protected rivalry for the next like 72 hours. But no, Louisville, Pitt. Without the divisions, without Clemson and Florida State standing in their way, certainly this has a lot bigger implications, and maybe these two teams start to. I think that affects recruiting big time for both of these teams, and maybe this is for a little regional recruiting foothold. We'll see.
There we go. Well played. I think I think this game is still better than Arkansas Alabama because Arkansas Alabama. I'm laying the 21, guys. I'm still laying the 21. Patty, see it jumps back.
There's a few. There are a few, and you know what? They're all favorites of mine. So let me start us off with one that you know what I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna play what is most important to me. And that is Georgia Southern coming to James Madison. They fucked up our perfect season last year, right? So Georgia Southern, fuck you. You're going to catch the full wrath of Bridge Fourth Connect Stadium, as Colby calls it. And
the full wrath or just like half of the wrath that's built?
Well, yeah, the half of the wrath that apparently phase 2 of the
full wrath? Getting the burrito on the sidelines.
That's right. I'm going to show up on the sidelines slinging burritos, right? We're going to be doing keg stands in the crowd. I don't know. The full wrath is getting your ass kicked, right, in a stadium that looks like a fucking what is that? Well, we got to come up with a nickname for that stadium. It's like
it is weird. It's one of the weirdest stadiums in college football.
I just love how you guys say Bridge Fourth Connect, though. I mean, I think that's like kind of like the nickname itself.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. But I don't know. I mean, JMU still ineligible for the Sun Belt Championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So guess what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to get an outright Sun Belt win this year in the regular season. I know we had an outright Sun Belt division title. We need an outright Sun Belt conference title. And, well, what do they call us? Division first place. We weren't division champions. We're division first place. So we're going to be conference first place.
Patty, see, this has been played a lot, and believe it or not, Georgia Southern's 8-1 all time against JMU. 8-1 all time, and that includes 3 straight wins in Harrisonburg. They haven't lost in Harrisonburg since 1985. All right, when you were a fucking toddler. All right, so I think the Screaming Eagles of Georgia Southern, and shout out to our boy Clay. They're going to come into old Bridge Fourth Connect and maybe hit some dominoes. All right.
Well, they're not running that triple option anymore. And they don't, that little fucking cha-cha-cha offense ain't going to cut it 2 years in a row against us. So,
Vic, what do you make of Georgia Southern at JMU?
I love it, man. It's a fun game, and there is going to be revenge on the minds of JMU. It's the second best Sun Belt game of the week, so it deserves recognition.
They should move this to Wednesday.
Look
at the Wednesday slate. This could fit in perfectly on a Wednesday.
True. There's 2 games Wednesday we haven't mentioned yet because they're a little lackluster. But this would be the top game Wednesday if it was to move there.
This would be money.
I do enjoy it. It's a well-played game. Two powerhouses in the FCS for a long time, who also have had success against the FBS teams that they've played. Remember, Georgia Southern won at Nebraska last year, and JMU, no stranger to winning. Who'd you guys beat last year? You lost to Louisville, but you won at Virginia Tech not that long ago.
All right, beat App State, who beat A&M last year. So,
you're doing the Bridgeforth Connect thing now. Okay, all right, folks. Well, now it's going to jump over to your boy Pick Dundee. Just call me Big 12 Dundee. I see something interesting to me. Matt Campbell is from the state of Ohio. He is a Mount Union. He used to play at Mount Union, right? This is an Ohio guy. So adding Cincinnati to the Big 12, I think Matt Campbell's excited for that. I think it's going to be easier for him to recruit. He is an Ohio guy. So when I see Iowa State heading into Skyline Chili, city, whatever the fuck they call it. What do they call that city again? What's Cincinnati's nickname?
Second sister city or Queen City?
Yeah,
Queen City.
Queen City, Iowa State at Cincinnati. I'm intrigued, and I think Matt Campbell's going to go home to his home state and beat the tar out of Patty C's Bearcats. Give me Iowa State at Cincinnati. Nick, your thoughts?
On the surface, it sounds kind of boring, but I'm not going to hate on it, actually. I think it's an interesting matchup because it is the newness of it, and it definitely belongs to be played here. I think it's interesting. I think Iowa State will probably win, so I agree.
Patty C, you're the Bearcat fan. What do you make of this matchup?
The game's being played at Nippert. Cincinnati is 35-1 at Nippert in their last 36 games.
Yeah, against the Americans.
Shit on old Scott Satterfield, right? The guy's had 8 500-plus seasons in his last 9 years as a head coach. Okay? More the same. Cincinnati's talented. Evan Prater, Mr. Ohio football, is leading the Bearcat offense. Everyone's asleep on the Bearcats. What is the win total? 4.5? Fuck you. They were in the college football playoff 2 years ago. Out of my face. Cincinnati's going to whoop Iowa State and make Matt Campbell never want to go back because he'd be so ashamed to be in Ohio after that game.
They've never played before, which is fascinating. And by the way, it was the college football invitational, Patty C. All right. We're about to jump back to NC Nick, but before I do that, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Shady Rays. Yes, Shady Rays is teaming up with SGPN for Shady May. Not only do you get an amazing 50% off, but you also get a chance to win $500 of cold hard cash. Yeah, Shady Rays got you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much, much more. And right now, for our international listeners, Shady Rays has you covered as well with shipping to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. Go to ShadyRays.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Then take your receipt over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win $500 of cold hard cash in our Shady May contest. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, NC Nick, you are on the clock.
All right, as we approach the 2-hour mark, I got to take you one of these SEC games. I'll go Florida at South Carolina. I think this game has Gamecocks victory written all over it, potentially. And it's always fun when South Carolina, who, other than Vanderbilt, they're the redheaded stepchild of the SEC East. And it's just fun to watch the Florida Gators in misery. And if they can lose this game, it'll be even more of a joyous celebration.
Agreed. And didn't, was it last year that they got the Florida fucked them up last year? Florida won 38-6 last year. So revenge opportunity for Patty C's boy Shane Beamer. He did win in 2000. Last time they came to Columbia, 40-17 South Carolina. Woo! So actually, wow, the last 5 matchups have been double-digit games. But you do have 2017 on your side, Nick. 1-score game in Columbia, South Carolina. But to be honest, Florida is 1-2 in their last 3 to Columbia, South Carolina. Actually, shit, they're 2-4 in their last 6 at Columbia, South Carolina.
I wouldn't have guessed it was that. Wow, interesting.
What is happening? Muschamp had their number. Can Beamer continue to have their number in Columbia? Patty C, what do you make of the Gamecocks hosting the Gators?
Well, consecutive 6 and 7 seasons under Dan Mullen and Billy Napier at the end and beginning of their respective tenures of Florida leaves a little bit to be desired. 8-4 the year before that for Mullen. So it's been a solid 3 years since Florida's been, or 4 years, I guess, since they've been a really good team. I feel like there's still talent there, and like they did whoop South Carolina, like you mentioned, but I feel like South Carolina is due. It's going to be a good game. It's not a shit game. You know, you would think South Carolina would be ahead of them.
Favored. I think they're going to be favored.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, just from the win totals, Florida's win totals at 5.5. South Carolina's at 6.5.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they open the game there? Is it 2001 Space Odyssey? That alone is worth tuning in for. Stick around for the fireworks, baby.
All right, Patty C is on the
clock. Okay, I'm taking us down the list a little bit. I'm taking us to some Mountain West football, and just the brand itself, right? The visuals, the helmet porn, the gay helmet porn. No, this isn't gay helmet porn. I came up with the term after the episode last week. What was it? Aestheticsexual. I don't know. These are two very different uniforms. Wyoming with that brown and yellow, beautiful cowboy combo, and Air Force with that fucking striking blue and silver, blue and gray lightning bolt. It's beautiful to watch. And Wyoming with their defensive brand. Air Force, are they still running the triple option? They haven't abandoned it yet, have they?
They have not. And I mentioned how Duke was 16 points away from being undefeated a season ago. I believe Air Force was 13 points away or 14 points away from being undefeated a year ago, as Troy Calhoun continues to do just unbelievable things in Colorado Springs. And this rivalry is pretty close. Air Force has a 3-game lead in this rivalry. So, NC Nick, your thoughts on Wyoming Air Force?
Yeah, solid game. I guess it's about time we played Mountain West, but my only bone to pick with it would be I had one Mountain West game a notch higher, and that would have been in the Western Conference of the Mountain West.
I will say the last 2 matchups have been by 1 score. They've been 1-score games. Last year, Wyoming won 17-14 against Air Force in Laramie. Now I'll say this: in Colorado Springs, Air Force has won 2 straight, so 3 of 4 also. So there is that. I love this matchup. This is like uniform porn. This is 100% like these are schools that. This is another one they could substitute and put on Wednesday night, and I'd be very happy.
Craig Bowles' success against triple option. How has he done? Do we know? He's not a Rocky Long level of savant against the triple option, is he?
Well, he sort of is, because he is a former Nebraska player and played for Tom Osborne. So he was a safety, if memory serves me correct. But I know he plays Air Force pretty damn well, and I know for a while when he first joined Wyoming, New Mexico was running the option, and he had some good success against the Lobos. So those two, he said, I think so. I think that means he's fairly decent against the triple option.
Interesting.
So
I can dial up the dance base net.
There you go, folks. The clock. We're getting deep here. Look, this one. All right, you want me to play an SEC game? It's kind of a snooze fest, but I mean, No, I'm not going to play an SEC game. I'm going to Wednesday where I find, I locked up one of my win total locks of the regular season last year. It was New Mexico State over, 2.5 games? Well, they only won 7, right? Or 6. No, 7. They won 7 games. And now Sam Houston State, who's an FCS juggernaut, comes into the CUSA. New Mexico State joins the CUSA. Remember, they were independent a year ago. And you get a little Houston, Las Cruces action. Sam Houston State at New Mexico State, CUSA, CUSA, weekday action. Sign me up for it. Nick, your thoughts on Sam Houston State at New Mexico State?
I'm going to plant a flag here and say Sam Houston State is my favorite FBS team in the state of Texas. I'm rooting for them. I kind of joined the bandwagon in the spring FCS league in 2021 or whenever it was when they won it all. You guys are picking other teams. I was riding Sam Houston State. So I'm going to continue that into their FBS voyage. And they're going to go on and get the W here, and they're actually going to build a decent program.
Well, me and GBO Farms have planted a flag on New Mexico State. Las Cruces, baby, with their sweet-ass mascot with the mustache and the 2 guns. All right,
a sweet mascot.
That's Patty C's been wanting to ride that mustache for a long time. All right. Patty C, it's a weekday game. What do you make of Sam Houston State at New Mexico State?
Well, Sam Houston State, contrary to what Nick is saying, I hate them because they caused JMU one of the biggest chokes in program history and potentially cost us an FCS national championship in our last year there. Meanwhile, New Mexico State, the state of New Mexico, has never really registered on my radar until recently when I found out that they are one of 4 states that consider college basketball their favorite sport, along with North Carolina, Kentucky, and I believe it's Indiana.
Yes.
And New Mexico, of all places. But we did have a New Mexico football resurgence last year, and Jerry Kill, like Colby mentioned, the headliner of that. I don't know.
Buy stock now, baby.
What's that?
Buy stock now. Jerry Kill.
Buy stock now.
Sam Houston State. This is going to be I'm going to go ahead and say this. I know this game doesn't sound great to most people listening. I'm going to call it. This game's probably going to be the best game of the weekday games. Watch this one be a 1-score game until the final couple seconds. I don't know. Maybe you got Coastal App that will be that way. ECU is probably going to beat the tar out of SMU. So this could be one of the better games on the week.
Well, you know what's cool about Jerry Kill in New Mexico State is like at Minnesota, he got the gig on an interim basis, or maybe I don't know. Was he the full-time guy there, or was he an interim?
Full-time because he was at Northern Illinois, and he had great success at Northern Illinois. So
I just found I feel like he's found a cool spot for himself that he can be who he is and have the excellent coaching chops without the expectations and without having to be a used car salesman and just coach football, and they're going to appreciate him. So I think that's what we're looking at there.
There we go. That is exactly what we're looking for. NC Nick, you're on the clock.
All right, I guess the SEC game that you were thinking about taking, there's another SEC East matchup. It doesn't wow me, but it should be a close game, and it'll probably be between 2 teams that go bowling. So how about should I play it, Missouri at Kentucky?
Yeah, I almost.
We have to, right?
Yeah. I feel like you have to. It's a border battle, isn't this a border battle? I don't even know if this is a border battle, right? Kentucky and Missouri, and
yeah, that's about it. It's kind of hard to sell it. It's just 2 quality football programs. It's a solid game. It's not sexy, but it's decent football.
What's better, Missouri, Kentucky, or Indiana, Purdue?
Missouri, Kentucky.
I think you're right. Patty C, what do you make of Missouri, Kentucky?
Indiana
Missouri,
football
Kentucky,
is fucking
Indiana,
worthless.
Purdue.
Indiana football sucks.
I'm
saying Indiana Hoosiers football sucks. Purdue is okay.
Yeah, Indiana Hoosiers football does suck. I feel like there's hatred there, whereas I feel like Kentucky, Missouri with their shared like 5 miles of border.
Growing up, like Missouri was terrible, Kentucky was terrible, and Indiana were terrible. So they all kind of remind me of each other. But Missouri and Kentucky have been able to build up their program where Indiana is still stagnant.
And I don't even think Indiana Purdue is like that big of a football rivalry. It's huge in basketball, but Patty C to the point that
rivalry.
I don't think
does anybody care about Indiana
much.
football? Does Indiana care about Indiana football?
Yeah,
no, but they still hate Penn State football.
Yeah, Missouri at Kentucky. Patty C, your thoughts?
Just in terms of the quality of the game, and guess what? I like it because it does have a sleeper angle, a true sleeper angle that, you just appreciate it for what it is. And the brands of football are both trying to establish themselves. I don't know what you would call, I guess Mark Stoops' brand of Kentucky football is hard-nosed run football, right? Missouri, what exactly are they doing? What would you say their brand is?
Yeah,
I don't know if they have a brand.
Yeah.
Pro style?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a particularly compelling game on any level, except that both teams tend to win games and are trying to make their name.
It's funny because all three of us have struggled to sell it.
Yeah. But it's a quality football game.
Yeah.
They both probably win 7 or 8 games.
There you go.
Patty C, you're on the clock. Where are you going?
Okay. Well, you laugh. You know what? I'm not going to play. I got 2 more picks.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to take us to a potential upset game here where the Ohio State Buckeyes are visiting the Purdue Boilermakers. Speaking of Purdue, look, it's happened before, and it's happened in dramatic fashion. Granted, Brian Brown was the coach there at the time, or Jeff Brown, rather.
Yeah, both. Actually.
Yeah. But it's a new day. We still don't know if Ohio State has figured its quarterback situation out, but by this point in the season, I'm sure they will have. Either way, I kind of want to take a look at Ohio State's schedule and see if this is a sleeper spot for them. But
what if I told you this, buddy? What if I told you I'm looking at the history? Yeah. Purdue kind of has their number. So, look, the last time they played in 2018, Purdue beat Ohio State 49-20.
I remember that. That's right.
The time before that, they did lose 56-0, right? But the time before that, they won 26-23. The time before that, they won 26-18. The time before that, they did lose, but then the time prior to that, they won. They kind of have their number, man.
The key thing is that it's not in Columbus.
Yeah.
I still don't know if a first-year head coach can knock off the Buckeyes at home, but that belongs to be played here.
They don't call them the spoiler makers for nothing.
I want to
say, the water there.
I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 7 wins since I've been alive in West Lafayette, and
even in Ohio State's 2002 national championship season, they needed a fucking 4th and 18 miracle to beat Purdue.
Wasn't that 4th and 1? And they go in play action. I think it was 4th and 1. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a crazy game, though. Shout out to that. And, yeah, I mean, I think this game's got to be played because of that history, which I didn't realize the history was that good in West Lafayette of them fucking with Ohio State. Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think I already kind of expressed my thoughts where I think it needs to be played here because of the potential. It might be a slight, potential for an upset, but it is Ohio State on the road with a new quarterback. So, yeah, I like it.
And Hudson Card. Don't forget about Hudson Card.
That's right.
All right.
Let's look it up. 4th and 1. You were right. Nice call.
Yeah, I remember that game because I was furious. It was such a ballsy call, though. I couldn't hate it, but I wanted Purdue to win that game. All right, I'm taking you. Man, I have one I want to play for. Okay, I'm just all right. I am taking you to. Man, this is tough. This is tough right here. Let's go. Okay, let's go to Salt Lake City because I think Cal is going to be a little bit better than what everyone thinks. I think Cal could give Utah a game. Now, if I would like it if it was in Berkeley. They could get their ass whooped here because Utah's so good at home, but I do think Cal is flying under the radar. I know Phil Steele feels the same way. Cal at Utah, Pac-12 after dark. Your thoughts, Nick?
No, thanks. Yeah, this is a Pac-12 game that I was just about to say after dark that I watched zero of. If it was at Cal, then I could see upset potential, but at Utah, I don't think so, man. I got about zero interest in this.
Eddie, Cal at Utah.
Took a big dump on your game. Although I'm going to do the same thing. The road environment for Cal is probably going to be really tough. I imagine Utah wins this game by 30 to 35 points. You think Wilcox will keep it competitive just based on his defensive prowess here?
Yeah, and they're 6-6 all time against one another. So
didn't play each other last year, so
got whooped in 2019, 35-0. Got whooped in, but the game before that in Salt Lake City was a 6-point game. Actually, let me see here. Yeah, so the last 5 matchups in Salt Lake City. Now, I do believe Cal is just 1-4, but 3 of those 5 have been by a score or less. I'm selling it. I actually think Cal's flying under the radar a little bit. So I think it could be a little bit interesting.
You have had your finger on the pulse of Cal a little more than I have for sure, or a lot more than I have. So take your word for it.
There we go. NC Nick, you're on the clock. Final pick.
Neil in the chat brings up a good point, and I kind of forgot this angle, but Arizona at Washington State, Jaden DeLaura back to Pullman is very interesting, and he's also pretty hilarious in the chat too. But I can't do it because I need to play something closer to home, and I think that isn't this WikiLeaks? Isn't Wake at Virginia Tech WikiLeaks, or is that Wake Louisville?
No, it's Wake Louisville.
Never mind. Well,
although Shane Beamer was heavily involved in that.
Right, I knew there was some connection there.
No, they bought the plays too.
Okay, I knew there was a connection there. So give me Wake at Virginia Tech because it's a solid game, and why not? Because we're at pick number 28 here.
Wake Forest at Virginia Tech. Now, I will say
this is a 0-0 game, wasn't it?
Yes, I was about to say that. This is the 0-0 game where it goes to overtime, where Beamer's celebrating when it's going to overtime at 0-0. One of the most hilarious college football games I've ever seen in my life. Patty C, your thoughts on good old Wake Forest at Virginia? I think Wake's going to win. You know what? I'll make you a bet, Nick. I think Cal's going to keep it closer against Utah than Virginia Tech will against Wake.
Okay, I'll take that.
Actually, it's in Blacksburg.
Exactly.
If it was at Wake, I would say.
Going back on your bet, you said it.
No, because you have the advantage of being at home.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I still expect Wake to win by double digits. This is my point. I'll lay 11.5 with Wake at Virginia Tech. Patty C, your thoughts on Wake, Virginia Tech?
Well, Wake winners are 2 of the last 3. One of those being a 6-3 win in 2014. Well, I guess that probably was that game.
That's the game, yeah.
And then a 23-16 win in 2020. Now, however, their last 2 games only actually they've lost to Virginia Tech, but they haven't won there since 1983. They haven't played that often, despite being in the same conference for the last 20 years. We haven't really seen a lot of that Bud Foster type defense, which is still very influential in Blacksburg against the slow mesh. If nothing else, it's an interesting contrast of styles to watch, especially with the year 2 of that defense coming back around.
Yeah. Well, the Virginia Tech, they just didn't do anything in the portal, though, man. I just don't think they're going to be very good. So
they're not like the type of team that relies on splashy portal. They're a program.
Well, maybe they should be at this.
Yeah,
point.
Every team needs to be now,
right.
Dude. What are you talking about?
Facts.
I mean, we had over 3,000 fucking players in the portal. You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah, ignoring that talent base is ridiculous.
Yeah,
they got to get it figured out.
Patty C, you're up with your last play, your last draft of the 30. Don't forget, we still have the FCS, and the FCS, and the what the fuck games of the week. But Patty C, where are you taking us?
Well, look, this game has nothing else to me except for, in my mind, potential for what should be a season-ending rivalry every single year. You may disagree. We have San Diego State traveling to Hawaii. We have two teams that probably deserve to be in the Pac-12. You should dial up that music for me, Colby, if you can find it.
I love how you guys selling it.
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
There was a time when, San Diego State to the Pac-12. That was an afterthought. Sure, a lot has happened to make that, a reality now. But that seems to be on the precipice of happening. And Hawaii, if you want to stay alive, Pac-12, there is a team in the middle of the Pacific fucking Ocean that wants to be in your conference. And look,
do they? They don't spend on athletics.
I'm sure they would. They're the team. They're the small fish that wants to have the big meal.
Here's your glory.
Palm Street football, baby.
Maybe I was the only one, really shouting for shorter college football games. Well, Patty C's the only one shouting for Hawaii to the Pac-12.
Wow.
I mean, in theory, if they would throw their money behind there, I do believe they love football and they have a strong football culture. If they threw their money behind there, or behind their football program in their university, I do believe
Washington, Oregon, USC, Utah, anyone who's fucking relevant in the Pac-12.
Alabama goes into Hawaii.
Well, Colby, I think throw their money. I think the problem is they probably lack a lot of money to
no,
throw
but
at it.
June Jones, when June Jones got him to the BCS game and he won them like $10 million or whatever the fuck the number was, I remember he was like, all right, let's put half that to recruiting. And they're like, no, here's your 80 grand for your recruiting that you have every year. And that was why he left. He was like, come on, we can really make this thing dominant.
We can do this every year, We just have to start.
So now you got Timmy Chang there, a native son of Hawaii. He's a June Jones disciple. Maybe he can make the magic happen. Nick, what do you make of this San Diego State at Hawaii?
This was not on my radar, man. Patty C picked two Mountain West games above the. My favorite one was Fresno State at Utah State, the last two winners of the Western Division. This was not on my radar.
Stylistically, you're missing the point, and aesthetically, you're missing the point.
Apparently,
you have two of the most. I mean, what are your most beachy ass football programs?
Coastal
Miami,
Carolina,
Coastal, I guess.
You
Hawaii.
guessed they're on fucking Myrtle Beach. What are we talking about?
Yeah, and Myrtle Beach is a small town in the middle of bumfuck South Carolina.
Florida Atlantic.
Prime time beach fucking vacation destination. I guess Myrtle is a pretty big vacation destination if you're from Ohio. Anyway.
All right. Well, look, NC Nick, I hate to do this to you because it's my pick. And where the hell is my music? Where the hell is my music? Let's where the hell are you?
You can't win.
I'm sorry. I gotta play this. I don't care how bad the teams are. But this is a Silver State series, all right? This is for the Fremont Cannon, the best trophy in college football. The big-ass cannon. Everyone's got to love it. And how about this? How about this here? I want to say, I'm looking back. So they're 5-5 in their last 10, right? They're 5-5 in their last 10, and a lot of one-score games. It was a one-score game, 5-point win by UNLV last year. Now, I hate UNLV getting rid of Sam Boyd Stadium and moving to that filthy fucking EDM concert fucking nonsense in Vegas. This one's in Reno, baby, and they still play real football in Reno. So I don't think Nevada's going to be very good, but I think this is a winnable game here. Altitude, this should be the final game of the season because this is a fucking historic rivalry that they've played for a long time. I don't know why they sprinkled this shit. Mountain West, you're fired because you should have this as your final game of the season. on like Black Friday or Thanksgiving or something. But give me UNLV at Nevada. NC Nick, your thoughts.
You're crazy if you think this is better than UAB UTSA.
The rivalry is better. Do they have a big ass trophy? Do they have a history of hating each other?
I don't give a shit. UAB UTSA. Remember 2 years ago when UAB fucking our guy? I mean, we like
Running on 14 inches.
Fuck, dude, jeez, and they blow that game. They had a chance to spoil UTSA's whole season, and they went yellow. They totally went yellow. And fourth and entries at like the 50,
there's no history in those programs. This is Randall Cunningham against Charles Mann.
Who gives a shit about Nevada football? UNLV at Nevada, really?
Oh, whoa. Nevada's been a very good program over the years, buddy. Where's this coming from? Patty C, where's this coming from?
No, these teams, I guess Nevada's had some great years under Alt, for sure. But
Alt, how about
and UNLV hasn't.
UNLV sucks. The only thing that's cool about this game is that it's a rivalry game. It's called the Civil War. It's in the a kind of cool state in Nevada.
I didn't think the Civil War made it to Nevada, but what do I know?
Yeah, irrelevant.
And the real Civil War is Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon State.
Yeah, that's a real Civil War.
But dude, I mean, Nevada has been a very good team. I think it's unfair to say that just because last year they're breaking in
but UNLV hasn't. So
okay, but they got a brand new coach as well, buddy. It's a brand new era, and the Big 12 might be picking up UNLV.
Might be picking up 30 fucking teams. Who knows,
dude? UTSA and UAB didn't even have They didn't even have. Both of them didn't have a football program like 10 years ago. And you're trying to sell this? How about this? 14 of the last 20 years, 14 of the last 19 seasons, Nevada's been a bowl team. Fuck you, buddy. All right, they matter. All right, and look, this trophy matters. They're gonna fire off that fucking cannon. All right, Patty C, what do you make of it?
I mean, yeah, I wish it was more. I wish UNLV could live up to the talent that is now in that area that they're cranking out. But they can't get their fingers on it for whatever reason. And so the game itself probably sucks. But the potential of the game, and really as two teams that could easily fit within the not only geography but the culture of the Pac-12, it has potential to be a big game in the future, but it sucks right now.
Cocaine versus meth, baby.
True.
Cocaine versus meth. And Neil's right. We probably should have played Arizona, Washington State. But
$2,000 hookers versus $5 hookers.
Dude, they actually like hate each other. Like if you go to Reno, they don't speak highly of Vegas. So that's why it's
they're rivals. They are business. Their livelihood is in direct fucking competition with each other. That's great.
Why it's perfect. NC Nick, you're on the clock with our FCS game of the week.
You can't win.
Where are you taking us?
Well, my FCS's philosophy is that I'm either going to go in-state or a bordering state, or I'm going to take you to the Dakotas, because that is what is FCS football to me. And I do see, where's the game at? Northern Iowa at South Dakota State. The reigning FCS champions going up at home against a team that's always solid, even though they may have been a little bit down the last couple of years. But don't sleep on Northern Iowa. This is a great game.
Patty C, your thoughts on Northern Iowa heading to Brookings, South Dakota to take on the Jackrabbits?
Of course, this is a great game, and it's a border battle. I think, right? Iowa, South Dakota. Did you say that, Nick?
Yeah, that's the game. I think it's a border battle too, but I'm not positive.
And they're competitive. That section of the country, the entire section of the country, belongs in Division 1A. They belong in FBS. It's ridiculous that we have to sit there and watch them play at this lower level and dominate the rest of the competition year in, year out. But it's also great because they get their chance to shine a little bit, and I will certainly be watching this game.
All right, Patty C, you are next on the clock.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Where are you going?
Well, it's only because North Dakota State is appointment television. You still have to watch them every year. Do we know what the situation with Hunter Lepke is? Is
He's
he
the
back
Dallas
again?
Cowboy. Right.
He's a Dallas Cowboy. Wow.
He's
Call me a Cowboy.
Deuce Vaughn's backfield mate.
Yeah.
Fucking A. That's a fun backfield. I might,
Thunder and lightning, baby.
Yeah,
Fire and ice.
I rue the day that I have to root for the Cowboys, but this may be that time. This is a fun one. North Dakota has, taken a step back. I feel like they were pretty competitive for a while. Now they're playing. Do they play in a dome too, North Dakota?
Yes. They both do.
So it's still dome football, but either way, we're seeing the premier program in college football play against their in-state rival. Sign me up.
North Dakota State at North Dakota. I believe they've been playing this for over 100 years, and it is a lot of fun. North Dakota was still a winning team last year. They just weren't dominant as North Dakota State and South Dakota State. So should be a fun one there for Tommy Schuster, the quarterback of the Fighting Hawks. All right, well, look, I'll take you to my
What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you.
My FCS game of the week, guys. You got to play this one because both are in the preseason top 10. Montana is at Idaho. Idaho brought in former North Dakota State offensive coordinator last year, and he started a freshman quarterback, went all the way to the FCS playoffs. They returned him. They returned their top wideout and their running back. And then Bobby Hawk, who's won a national championship at Montana, heads into that filthy Kibbe Dome. But this is a huge game. This is a huge game with major implications in the Big Sky. Montana at Idaho, border battle as well. Patty, see your thoughts.
They share a massive border too. Montana has obviously been the more, established and considered a blue blood at the FCS level program. Idaho, that was surprised to hear they were a top 10 team. I should have known that off the top of my head, but yeah, hell yeah, that's a fun one.
Both made the FCS playoffs a year ago. Nick, Idaho.
I love it. This is FCS football. This is the part of America that gets zero FBS love, and that's why it's great that these FCS games are so good.
Alrighty, well now we can shift gears. Our final segment on the show is our Lou Holtz what the fuck game of the week, the game that makes no sense, that shouldn't be played. It's just terrible for the sport that this game is being played. They shouldn't air it on television. And I can never find the clip, so I do this.
Yeah, it felt like shit afterwards.
That's the way you feel like shit afterwards of watching that one. NC Nick, you have the first pick for our what the fuck game of the week. Where are you taking us?
Well, thankfully, finally, for the first week this year, we don't have any FBS versus FCS. So there's no games where we can play there, but in week 7, UMass should not be playing at Penn State. If you're going to play, do it week 2 or 3 or something, not week 7, damn it. That's the worst game of the
What a
disgrace.
week.
Don Brown returns to State College where he was Michigan, played Penn State every year. So maybe there's some magic there. No, this game is terrible. And I'm curious to see if I want to say UMass played there a couple years ago. But if they've played before, yeah, Penn State leads the all-time series 1-0. This game's terrible. Patty C, what are the chances? How many points would you lay with Penn State here?
45. 45.
Nick, what side would you be on?
I'm going to take the points with 45. Barely. They win 44-3.
Yeah, that game's absolutely terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. All right, Patty C.
Yeah, it felt like shit afterwards.
Where are you taking us, buddy?
Well, we know that Sports Reference isn't entirely up to date, but look, this game has been played for a long time. I'm seeing a 59-17 all-time lead for Georgia against Vanderbilt, even though it is an in-division game. The last 3 years, the score has been 55-0, 62-0, and 30-6. Prior to that, 41-13 and 45-14. This game is an absolute ass-kicking every year. It doesn't need to be played or watched.
Fair. Very fair. Even though we think Vanderbilt's turning a corner. Nick, is there any chance? Nick, what's that number you would lay on Georgia Vanderbilt?
Oh, man, I think Georgia might beat Vandy by more than Penn State beats UMass.
I think so. I think you're right. I think I would make that bet. Does this deserve to be played here, Nick?
Of course. It's awful.
True. Very true. All right, and then
he felt like shit afterwards.
my what the fuck game of the week. I'm only going to play this just because it doesn't make any sense. It's the new AAC. Temple is heading to North Texas.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah, it
sounds weird.
It's awful.
Philadelphia, Dallas, or Denton, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. It just doesn't.
Eagles, Cowboys, NFC East matchup.
Well, it is better. Still rather better than the NFL, but it's just I can't get used to it. Maybe in 10 years, AAC, if you build this thing, I just it's terrible. Your thoughts, Patty?
Oh yeah, there's nothing about either team that's likable. North Texas, and where's the game being played?
Denton.
In Denton.
Dude, this game does not sound like American AAC. This sounds like Conference USA or something. It doesn't feel like American. This is it's a big blow.
Blood sauce is what it sounds like.
It's a big blow with the American. Maybe you don't realize what they lost, what they're bringing in until you hear that game. You're like, what?
They should have went for the Dakotas. The AAC should have been like, hey, North Dakota, South Dakota, get on board.
What's more American than the Dakotas, little Mount Rushmore? Come on.
Exactly. All right, folks, that's our show for this week. To subscribe to the College Football Experience. Next week, I'll be back in the studio, God willing, and then I'll be giving you episodes every single day. So subscribe to the College Football Experience. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. Give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. And the College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And make sure you follow us, give us a subscribe on YouTube, the College Football Experience, youtube.com/the College Experience. And yeah, subscribe to all of our other stuff. We also host the USFL Gambling Podcast, and we'll be back tomorrow night talking USFL for this upcoming week. So subscribe over there. And and we also host the College Basketball Experience and the College Baseball Experience, and that season's in full swing. So subscribe to the College Baseball Experience as well and the Sports Gambling Podcast. And, yeah, check us out in our Discord. We always talk college football on there, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Get the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And until then, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
When I spit my thoughts, you get ripped apart. Save the cookie cutter butter for 106 apart. Cause of your link of a lie, sip your heart. You never dumb it down, dog. If you're smart, I know about a couple of lines. Fighters are quick to close. Picture you on